Daniel. So what we got today is we're starting with some A pool or pool A action. The way that the pools were split up was that pool A was predominantly those that were in the inaugural beta league, whereas with a couple of new people to fill out the field. And then pools B and C were consisting of new members, and that was mostly such that the um, people who had participated in the inaugural beta league um, had their fair shot at trying to promote, considering that the people that are coming in are starting at the B2 level, but obviously aren't necessarily all like B2 level players. They could be easily higher, and so to give the people from the inaugural season a fair shake, I ended up putting them in the same pool so that they'd have their own shot at promoting.
And that's why, as you'll see in the upper right corner of the screen, for the statistics for our players tonight, we've got 3 players that have some stats filled in, and then 1 player, the fourth, who has NA written there. Dakota is a new player in this league, and the other 3 have played in the inaugural beta league, and so we have some statistics left over for that season.
Yeah, so it's it'll definitely be interesting how, especially for the people in the B2 league who may have gotten, unfortunate, for instance, in the inaugural beta league, how their play comes in now, coming into perhaps a pool in which they're more in line with some of the players around them, as opposed to just the general public, as well as maybe getting the jitters out and everything.
Yeah, looking at these players' stat lines, it looks like there's some reasonable similarity, especially between Brett and Elena. Their win and deal in percentage is pretty close, and it looks like Elena also has quite a high call percentage. And I remember back in the inaugural beta league, watching some of these games, and a lot of these players are quite aggressive, and that's sort of represented in that deal in percentage. Of course, that was then. This is now. We'll see how those players have changed up their playstyle, perhaps, in this upcoming season. I think this is the first match that they've played yet. They've got a 0 scoreline so far, so we'll all get to watch together and see exactly how those playstyles have changed.
Yeah, it looks like we're underway. And first up as dealer is Point, or Alex. And actually, he's got some decent shapes. He probably could get some type of pinfu hand going if he gets the right draws. Looking elsewhere around the table, I would probably say that Dakota, G2 Wolf, probably has the next best type high, because he does have a couple of pairs, but like that 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 can accept a whole bunch of stuff. So look, their hand might actually come together a lot quicker. And now Jamcat, Elena calls the 3 8s, probably looking for the Tanyao there, and doesn't have too bad. The 8s were a good call, probably because it wanted to progress the hand, but does have the 2 Kanchan weights.
Yeah, drawing this pair is really nice, though. Your shapes are pretty much set at this point.
Yeah, you're Ishan 10 at that point, but unfortunately it's 2 Kanchan weights, and that's not necessarily ideal.
Well, look at this draw for Brett.
Yeah, Brett's hand was probably not the greatest starting out, but now that he has the Yakuhai pair, looks like might get a chance to accelerate if that Chun comes out, but it's not. It's still on the wall, so unfortunately he's kind of stuck there.
Yeah,
there's one of the Kanchan weights, and so Elena is now Tenpai for Tanya Dora 1 or for 2,000 points.
Yeah, and just 2,000 points. Well, Brett is not far behind Ishan 10, but the 7 so comes in.
Wow, two Kanchan weights back to back, and gets paid off for the 2,000 points in an early lead.
Well, we'll move on to East 2 dealership, and it's Dakota's dealership.
Right, and unfortunately, well, it looks like he could actually just, if he could, well, depending on what tiles Dakota got, probably could have pushed for a Honitsu. The 8 up pin obviously doesn't help. Brett has a lot of wins. If he draws correctly, that could get kind of scary. Across the table, there's the East call, so it looks like he's at least going to go for just at least the Yakuhai. Across, Elena has 1, 2, 3, 4 pairs, but also has 2 completed melds. Could also have an Ipeiko, so doesn't have to go the Chitoitsu route. Could end up with something along the lines of like a Richi Ipeiko or something like that. And then to the left, Alex.
Those are rough shapes.
Has a pair, has some good shapes. The Penchon 8-9 is not ideal, but you could probably get, and the 1-2 as well. So it's gonna get a little tricky. The second Dora helps, but unless you can fill out those Penchon weights, you're probably got, I don't know, maybe no, you couldn't even call that. You just have to hope to draw well and get Ricci, and may end up with a bad weight.
Yeah. Well, our dealer has managed to pick up more of a normal hand. It was starting with, potential Honitsu, but now that the honors are all gone, it looks more like Tanyao. And 6, 7, 8, Sanchuk is a little bit out of reach right now and drawing that Onko 7 pin. So we'll take the Yanshan 10.
Interesting committing the 8 pin on that one, because 7, 7, 7, 8 could accept a lot of tiles, but you could lose Tanyao in that sense. So maybe that's why they discarded the 8.
Yeah, you've got so many blocks.
Otherwise, you could have discarded, for instance, the 6, 8 so instead.
That's true.
As opposed to discarding the 8 pin outright, I think.
Yeah, I think that's that Dakota played that fairly efficiently, though. And now they've called to Tempai, waiting for the 3, 6 pin. This is just Tanyao for 1,000 points. And looking around the table, we see 3 of the 6 pin either in hand or discarded, and only 1 of the 3, so there's 4 left.
Nope, there goes the 6.
Yeah, that did not fit in Alex's hand, and fortunately it's only, as dealer, 1,500 points. We'll get another repeat.
Ooh, this is... that's going to be a tough hand to make something with. I mean... You could entertain like something like Chanta or something like that if you drew right, but those 2 5s you just drew back to back are going to make it difficult. The hands just look like it's going to be slow.
Yeah, the lone Dora isn't helping anything either.
Yeah, and Brett has, with the 2 Easts, once that East comes out from Alex's hand, it's going to be called immediately, and we'll just proceed to go with the hand. Still has some loose ends to deal with, but feels like as if it could be callable and easily done or easily completed. Elena actually has some decent shapes. Won't get the Tanyao, but could easily make something out of this hand, and has pretty wide ways to get there as well.
Yeah, looking like could potentially make Pingfu out of that. And of course on the left, some reasonable shapes. A little bit of overlap in the Manzu, but could turn into a standard head as well. Again, that problem is the door is the west wind, and that's not exactly Yakuhai for Alex on the left. And one of those west winds has been discarded, so we'll see how long he hangs on to that.
Yeah, maybe he's thinking that there's some value that's the only way to extract value out of that. Yeah, otherwise he may just be ducking out of this hand, depending, especially with 1 call already. Yeah. The 6 pin certainly helps. That West might come out now.
We'll see. The 7 instead, so still seeing a little value. And well, our dealer has found a path. There is a potential for 1, 2, 3 Sanshoku here.
Yeah, and if nothing else, that keeps the dealership. Keeping the West does work out. So there's your pair. That does make 4 pairs, and I'm wondering with that 4-mon discard if they're now hard committing to Chitoi, maybe?
Yeah, maybe just keeping things flexible, but I'm certain Chitoi's on the mind. 7 pairs is not a bad outcome here. And
because, I mean, would you have kept the 4-mon or discard like the 4-so? I mean, is there a difference?
Maybe just realizing there's overlap between those shapes and trying to keep the efficient 6, 6, 7 shape and the somewhat efficient 2, 2, 4 shape. But on the right, Brett's found Tempai, and his hand was speeding along. Sumo's there immediately. Just the east wind.
So fairly cheap hands to start, so not just a kind of maybe feeling each other out at this point. could also be reference to the high call rates. So one thing that you, as maybe somebody who's either beginning or might get caught up in, is if the people are calling to try to complete their hands, mentally some people might think, well, I can't necessarily wait to draw my tile, so maybe I need to accelerate and call my tiles as well.
Although, to be fair, these hands haven't really lent themselves to being closed. I mean, they've been somewhat limited in value, so we'll keep an eye on that, though. We have seen a lot of calls early on, and
I would expect Brett to actually call here too with the two tunes, even with, well, actually he's Ishan 10. Is Ishan 10? No, he's Ryanshan 10, sorry.
Two-way.
He could wait or not, but the tune obviously gives him the ability to call and make this fast. I'm actually looking across the table at Alex, who's got like a Honitsu or not Honitsu, even a Chinitsu, possibly, if he gets the right tiles or not.
Yeah, that 147 in the Sozu is awkward. You're probably getting rid of a couple of those tiles, and at that point, you're really close to Chinitsu if you draw those Manzu. The door one and so does come out.
Okay, so now you got the Honitsu with Dakota on the left. On the right, you definitely got a Tanyao, and that might, is that going to be called? Doesn't get called. Gets paid off with the Kanchan 3-mon weight, but is definitely looking for Pinfu or for Tanyao over there. Brett is... well, I thought the 4-mon was like, does that help? Not really.
Yeah, not really. Your shapes are pretty much locked in. Still 2 tiles away from Tenpai, but with excellent shapes.
There's the 4-so call.
Okay, we're kind of getting there. Still need to get rid of that 5 and 6, though.
Yeah, but for everybody else, the question is whether they look over there and wonder, are they Tenpai? How much do I really want to drop a Sozu at this point? And that could buy Dakota time to get rid of that 5-6, because they don't know that they're not that close yet. There's the call now. With 2 calls over on Dakota's side, I think Elena decides now is the time to push.
Yeah, that's very observant.
Should be called here too.
There we go, Tenpai.
Yep.
If you see a monster hand being built on the other side of the board, maybe speed up your own smaller hand and prevent the other player from winning. And we see Alex not willing to discard the 6 or 9, so keep that shape. And so definitely Chinitsu is not one of the options here. Well, another door draw for Dakota's nice.
And there's the 5.
So another cheap hand, but this was well played by Elena.
Yeah, I think that was the right call. Once they saw 2 calls across, I think it was good for her to push there, and especially since her weight was Sozu. It's a double-edged sword, because you'd wonder whether or not people would drop Sozu, but at least you know that you're not gonna, you're not discarding all the Sozu out there either. You're also waiting for that as well. So kind of hedges you against the person across or at the time. So now East 4, and this is already pretty fast here. And
look at this high pie.
Yeah, Elena with the not only just the Yakuhai, but the Dora Yakuhai in player, and Dakota across has the other Hatsu, or one of the other Hatsus. Not sure if they're going to discard it. We'll have to see how that goes. Elena does draw the Kanchan 3-mon to fill out that 2-3-4, so she's really moving along right now. Not to say that Alex isn't, because he's actually got some pretty decent shapes of his own.
To the right,
yeah. And then Brett, the Wests aren't his win pair, so can't call with that. But actually, everything else. Wait, he has Ishan 10.
Yeah, 4 discards in, already Ishan 10 with a double Yamen, 2-sided weights, waiting on the 4-7 pin or the 3-6 so.
That 9-mon is in. Yeah, see, there you go. The 9 pin did finish that and decides to get rid of one of the pairs. Might actually be interesting, because now Elena could draw like the 4-7 and just declare Ricci just for the 2 Dora. But Ricci 2 Dora is still. But
Brett gets there first. 4-7 weight for just Ricci only. And looking on the table, 2 7s, 2 4s, so still 4 left in the wall to draw. And as dealer, you're willing to push this. Oh.
Wow, the 4 comes out immediately.
The
So
problem
it gets paid off
was...
for Ricci. Go ahead.
Oh yeah, the problem was Alex drew Dora and wasn't willing to drop that.
Okay.
Unfortunately, the 4 pin wasn't safe either.
So that's actually our first decent payoff
Yeah,
compared to
2600
the
hand,
rest.
but it was a reach.
So now South won, and Alex is actually finding himself on the wrong side of things somehow through all that. Although again, still within reach, gets the Yakuhai, gets the closed Yakuhai, so and has a Honitsu chance, especially with that door north, and it's all of it's still alive in the wall. But the thing is that Dakota on the right, if ever gets that south, will probably push and actually isn't that far away themselves, are they?
Still need
They still need
2
two.
draws,
Yeah.
But South is double Yakuhai, as that is their seat wind and also the round wind.
And actually, Jesus, Brett across is also Ishan 10 at this point, I believe.
But Tempai found for Alex. Look at this.
Draws the Dora.
Eat.
Oh, Tempai everywhere. Okay.
Yeah, so there's a lot of quick hands here, and I think the only one that might have been slow would have been Elena, and it's not like hers was that slow either.
No.
Oh my gosh!
You can switch the weight to even better here.
6 or 9. Then you just got the 9, right?
Yeah. 2-5 weight for Alex. Oh my goodness! It just never stops.
But the 5s are now stuck over in Brett's hand, and wait, the 5s are gone. So now well, here's the thing: if Alex completes his hand, it's with the 2, which means it's going to add an extra Han to the hand because he's got Ipeiko.
Honitsu, Dora 2, Ipeiko. So it's at least Haneman. And there's 2 2s left in the wall. As far as the hand on the right, we're looking at south and 6, and there's 2 souths and 1 6. Nope, 2 souths left in the wall. That's all it will be. So guarantee the Yakuhai.
The 5 is going to come out, isn't it? Is the 5 going to come out?
It's risky, but it does.
Yeah.
Well, that was the cheaper of all the options, unless there's Ura. No Ura.
There's no Ura.
Well played. That's like a Sashikomi almost. Intentionally dealing into the cheap hand to avoid taking the penalty of a more expensive hand.
And I could imagine Alex is probably like, no! I had that feeling in my own games earlier. You can see me down second from last. There was quite a few of my games where, unfortunately, that I had that exact same feeling. Although not for that expensive of a hand, unfortunately, for me.
Yeah, it feels bad to deal in, but I'm sure Elena, looking back, this will be
it's not even
happy.
a bad feeling in. I was talking about Alex. Like, he has a big hand trying to come back here, and now he's still stuck in 4th with no dealership left.
Yeah.
So anyways, South 2, and already now Dakota's called the South Wind. Does have some awkward weights, but isn't that far off. And that helped. Across, Elena's called the Tuso. I'm guessing trying to figure out a Tanya somewhere along the lines there. On the right, Brett's got some. I mean, he's got a completed the set of 4s, but not much else. Does have the Yakuhai now. Yeah, besides that, is probably that's all they're going to expect out of the hand. And with the lead, you're going to take it.
Yeah, more pairs drawn.
Point again has a very decent hand on deck here. Does have the hanging 3/6 pin, but isn't that far away from getting his hand Tempai and having maybe at least getting some points out of it if they manage to finish it. But again, with all these calls, it just seems like it might just end up being too slow.
Yeah, we see already Tempai for dealer now, or 7 weight.
Because Dakota's Tempai, Ishan 10 from Brett.
Ishan 10 for Elena?
Ishan 10 for Elena, and now finally
Tempai now for
Alex
Elena.
is Ishan 10. So, yeah, again, it's unfortunately for Alex, it's just too slow with all these calls.
Well, dealer upgrades the Toy.
Well, that's an interesting pivot. Because they could. Oh, actually, no, that's right. Never mind.
You
want the 2/3.
Oh, and now that's Dora, but one's already been
But
discarded.
no, yeah.
And it looks like Brett on the right also wants Toy Toy.
And the thing is, the only person that can benefit from this is Point.
Yeah.
Because of
the
the
only
reach.
person who can go reach now.
Come.
Are they gonna con that? They con that.
Oh, and draw into it.
Oh my gosh.
So your weight is actually only the 3-pin here because the remaining 2-pin have been discarded.
And 3 of the 3 pins are sitting with Dakota.
You need to probably get rid of this 2-pin, right? Guaranteed Toy Toy? Good job. All right, so waiting for the 8-mon now. And I think this is Tempai for Alex.
That's Tempai. He'll definitely take it with Simul. Oh my gosh! Oh.
It seems in this game, everyone gets Tempai at the same time.
Well, but and again, I have to feel for Alex because, again, this is something that I had in my games where Alex gets, or I got to Tempai, Alex gets a Tempai, we reachy, and then suddenly somebody else wins their hand, and you're just kind of like, give me a break here. I need something. Give me something. As it stands, he continues to fall behind on points.
At no fault of his own, too. It's just...
Again, no fault of his own.
Been
just
unfortunate. Well, maybe he'll get a chance here, as it looks like the dealer hand is a little bit far away. We've got an Anko of 9-mon. We have that 1, 2, 3 set, but disconnected shapes in the Pinzu, so maybe it will take a while to build a hand. That 3-pin certainly helps, though. And on the right, good shapes. Good shapes. We've got that 2, 3, 4, 5 set. We've got...
The 8 helps. The 8 so helps there.
Well, now this just looks beautiful. You're looking at a normal Pinfu hand with the potential to incorporate the Dora's 6-pin. Yeah, across, we've got...
Oh, Elena gave up the pair of Norths?
Oh my. Well, it was
because that looked like at least a Chanta-ish type hand.
Yeah,
there.
Perhaps Chanta. Although North wasn't Yakuhai, and well, it does feel a little awkward.
All dead, so I wouldn't have meant.
Yeah, and perhaps wanting to build more of a normal hand or incorporate the 3/6. Sometimes you get stuck deciding like to discard the 3 or the 6, and you say, well, I'll just get rid of something else. But in this case, I think probably one of those was likely to be better, or just the other lone honor tile. And the 6 pickup is nice. You're probably looking for just a Ricci, including the Dora. And on the left, we've got that Chun pair from Alex, and great shapes, lots of pairs actually. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
The Dora 6 is kind of a little awkward because you don't have you do have the pair of 4s next to it, but it's going to be hard to incorporate that in directly.
That might encourage Alex to think even more about going the Chitoy route, the 7 pairs route, because then you can incorporate the Dora twice. As it is, it's Brett who gets Tempai first.
Yeah, and I think that's probably what they were trying to do there.
Interesting choice from Brett.
On the Shanpon weight, which is the double pair weight, on the 2-mon 5, so when he could have discarded the 5 and waited for 4/7.
Yeah, as it is, that would have given Pifu in addition to Ricci, but we currently just have Ricci only.
My guess is that they looked out on the table and saw 2 of the 3-mons discarded and 1 4-mon, and may have bet that the 2-mon might have been more likely to come out than looking at the 4/7 since those are middle tiles.
Yeah, that is interesting. Thinking about what other players are likely to discard as opposed to what you might draw yourself. I do usually prefer the Yeonmin weights, the double
over
weights.
for Alex, but discards the 5-so right into Brett. Wasn't necessarily expecting the 5-so weight to come out, but gets it and the points and almost takes the lead.
Yeah, so that had to come out of Dakota's hand if he wanted Tempai, and so Brett's choice was actually quite strong.
So now Brett with a chance to take the lead here in South 3 as dealer. Shapes are looking all right. The definitely can accept some tiles, but it is a little awkward with the Pinzu suit. Probably so. Looking at the left over Dakota's hand, the closest competition, that hand looks like it can easily come together very well, or it could just call fast. And that's unfortunate news for Alex across the table, who could have something like a Honitsu on deck, but if he needs to accelerate and call, it's going to cheapen the value and therefore make it a little bit harder for him to catch up. And then Elena on the right, well,
It's kind
it's
of
not
there.
too bad.
Yeah.
Could the 6-8 Kanchan weight's going to be a little awkward, but can definitely work around that.
Ooh, that 3 mon is
now is Ishan 10.
great. When do you
No,
drop
not
that?
Ishan 10, sorry.
Chu?
It's
It will be.
Yanshan 10.
It will
You
be
should
Ishan
drop
10
Ishan,
after
shouldn't-
this discard. Hanging on to
Let's
that
drop
Chu.
the 2-pin.
And well, you know what? You've got your blocks pretty much set. If you fill that 6-8 shape, you might hang on to that 2-pin to try to maybe draw the 3-pin and get a beautiful
Yeah,
2, 3, 4, 5, 6 shape.
3, then yeah.
Well, as it is, this is a great pickup.
So yeah, so now so the tune comes out now. Alex doesn't take it off.
Interestingly,
rightly, because he needs the points.
Yeah, that's true.
Opening the hand, Yakuhai Honitsu's what, 3,900?
Yeah, that might not be enough at this point.
I mean, it'll get closer, but there's no guarantees heading into South 4. Brett's hand, though, has improved. He's managed to finish out those middle parts of the Pinzu and looks really good, but that Tumon that's hanging out there now is stuck.
Yeah, it's dangerous
if that
against
comes
this
out,
reach.
That pays over into Elena's hand, who has a 2-5, what they call a San Menchan, or a 3-way wait, waiting for the 2, 5, and 8 mon.
Jeez.
So,
what are the previous ways that you can get in the game?
Oh, is that 8 mon coming out?
It does. Well, this is going to be pretty valuable for Elena here. Reach, Pinshu, and Adora, and an Uda from Mongon.
For the 8,000, so now Dakota actually finds himself in 3rd place, and Elena actually, in South 4, finds herself in the lead. Of course, she can't end the game herself, though, because if she continues to win the hand, the game will continue, but that's probably a good problem to have, as opposed to being in 3rd where she was before.
Right.
And with that Yakuhai pair, could easily just make this a 1,500 point hand and at least put some distance between her and the competition. Alex is, oh my gosh, he needs what, 9,800 points? So a Mongon Sumo to try to get into 3rd, and that hand has 2 Dora, but still needs a little bit of help. And with the way people have been calling, I'm just not sure he's going to have time.
Yeah, that's the real struggle here. I mean, you can call for the 3rd Dora and build a Mongon that way, or a Mongon S-Can, but then that... Go ahead.
About the only fortunate thing for Alex is finally he's in a situation where he might actually have time, because Dakota's hand and Brett's hand look a lot slower than normal. So the only person he's really fighting with right now is Elena, but she's getting closer and closer as we speak. So that 7 mon draw really helps. Is here. So is going to get rid of the 3-5 Kanchan weight. Is he sitting in Shanten?
2 tiles away. We draw the 5 pin, and then we draw one of the lower Monzu. Well, 8 mon is good. So now you can get Tenpai in a number of ways.
Elena's still not Tenpai yet, but will be now.
Oh.
What?
Didn't make the call there.
Interesting.
This is perhaps an aggressive, I want the Hatsu, I want extra value.
I understand that, but at the same time, it's like any loss here, any sumo loss here, and you're down in 3rd, you lose your 1st place. And Alex finally gets something, and nobody is Tenpai at this point, so he has some time. Can he get the 5 and the 8? There's only unfortunately, he's down to 4 tiles, though, because everybody else has at least holding one of those tiles.
Yeah, well, this is going to be Tenpai for Elena.
Elena's now Tanya, or not Tanya, Tenpai.
And the 4-so is safe now. It's the reach. So somebody might discard that thinking it's safe.
And the worst part is that for Alex, that 5-8 is probably going to be self-drawn. You do not see many Pinzu out there on the table. Nobody is going to drop any of those.
Yeah, reach, Sumo, Tanyao. Dora 2 is a Mongon.
And the thing is, I don't think the interesting thing is I'm not sure what Elena will do here, because oh dear.
Tenpai for Brett, so 2-5. Oh, but he got it.
Oh, he hits it. Okay, so this is the question: is Richi, Sumo, Tanya, Dora 2?
He got it.
Doesn't get any Ura, but 28,000. Where does that put him? That does put him into at least 3rd. And yeah, that's where he finishes in third, ahead of Dakota, who was in first, but unfortunately, then those last couple of hands, and just paid into Elena, and then Brett or Alex finally got a sumo out of all those hands that he had throughout the match, and at least claws himself out of last place. But that's unfortunate for Dakota, really.
Well, it certainly was exciting watching Alex come back into this after building hand after hand and declaring reach, and then losing those reach checks that somebody else won. Finally, getting that sumo against two other Tempai hands. That's wonderful.
Yeah, and again, that comes back to the it's whether or not you're able to play fast enough. And Alex decided that wasn't necessarily going to play that game and try to hopefully find that one hand where they can get all their value in. And you don't necessarily want to wait until the very last hand, but yeah, you take whatever you can get. And actually, if you look at the statistics, and I personally know Alex or Point. I've met in person, and I know he's definitely a good player, and the statistics actually don't look that bad. But probably may have suffered from the fact that, despite the fact that his winning hand average and his losing hand average there's a good difference between the two. It's just that the gap between his win and dealing rate just wasn't high enough for him to maybe separate out, and might have been part of the reason why he ended up here in B2, because I would have imagined him being somewhat higher up than where he is now. So again, maybe you've been looking at it and thought, oh my gosh, is this happening again from the inaugural beta league? But um you know probably at least breathing some sigh of relief that it's not off to a fourth place start.
For sure. And well, overall, I thought that the play in that game was pretty strong. I mean, the hands came together so. Oops. Altogether, I thought the play in that game was pretty strong. I mean, the hands came together so quickly. There were a lot of called hands as well, but there was also a fair number of reachy hands, and unfortunately, a lot of those were on Alex's end, where they didn't quite come together against the faster hands. But it certainly led to a lot of drama and tight scores. So
yeah, and that's the thing with calling. It's like, I think Korak would always mention about the fact that when you call, unless you actually have value in there, you're talking about cheapening your hand. And we kind of saw that a bit, although it wasn't necessarily of their choosing, right?
Mhm.
Because
I mean, in a lot of
hands kind of
cases,
dictated that they had to call because
right?
of bad weights and everything.
Yeah,
But because of that, everything kind of stayed pretty close throughout the first half of the game, at least.
I certainly agreed with quite a few, almost every single one of those calls that was made. And so we'll move into this next game. We'll see how this develops.
So Dakota, starting off as dealer, has the Yakuhai pair, does have the Penchon 1-2, but other than that, actually looks pretty good. Trying to see who probably has the next best hand. Might be Alex across the table. Already has a 7-8-9 completed. Has some good shapes with like the 7-8-8, so can certainly be able to build on that. I would probably say the slowest might Brett, because he does have the non-Yakuhai pair. Now draws the Penchon 8-9, so it's going to take a little bit of effort. And then Elena certainly can go for some type of Tanyao hand. The 5-so certainly helps if that's the direction she wants to go. Doesn't have to discard a lot of tiles to head in that direction, so it's certainly flexible.
Well,
What do you think with that 7-so draw? Because I mean, if you're going for Tanyao, you'd probably just want to get rid of the Hatsu, especially if one of them already out.
Yeah, you can hang on to that 7-so for a little flexibility. Although your shapes of the Sozu are kind of set. You got that 3-4-5 and then the 1-1-3 shape. So perhaps hanging on to that.
With the 1-3 though, that means you can't call because you can't go for like a Tanya or something like that. So.
Yeah, and perhaps Elena's just thinking, maybe I don't have to call just yet. Maybe I can build this into a normal Ricci hand and try to grab a little bit more value. As it is, we did see a call.
Yeah, so Dakota here is called is sitting Ishan 10. Would love to get that 6 pin in
Oh,
the middle.
you called it.
Oh my gosh! This isn't a commentator's curse, like a commentator's call out. And so yeah, now Dakota's Tenpai waiting for the 3/6 mon.
Yeah. Well, on the left, Elena had passed up a call of the 6 mon earlier and got rewarded with a drop, but ended up discarding the bird, the 1 so. It does seem to be edging towards a Tanyao type hand like you predicted. And uh-oh, that 3 mon doesn't fit in Alex's hand, who really did have quite a monster hand building over there with Reach, Pinky Door 2, but unfortunately, it's the fast call by dealer who gets there first.
And at this point, I don't think Alex minded, because sitting with 2 door in his hand, he probably figured that Dakota's hand wasn't going to be that expensive in the end, since at least 2 of the door were accounted for. So 1,500, it's like, okay, fine. I had a big hand going anyways. I can justify that.
Yep.
Dakota again has the not just a Yakuhai pair, but the same Yakuhai pair. The shapes are a little bit more awkward even than before, I think, although that 3 pin does help. Who else is around there? I would say,
well, Elena,
probably again, I think Alex has got the better of it.
Oh, for sure.
Than the rest in terms of being able to complete a hand and call.
Yeah, very Tanyao-esque tiles right now. But Elena's got a potential Itsu in the Manzu. 1 through 9 potentially building over there.
Looks like probably where she's taking that.
And well,
it's interesting with Dakota's call with the 1, 2, 3, expecting that the tune's going to come out, and it does. Figuring that nobody is going to hold on to it necessarily at that point, just because of the fact they see the 1, 2, 3 call.
And Dakota's got some nice double-sided shapes in the Manzu Pinzu, but it's lacking a pair. And you'd ideally pair up the, say, 1 so or 2 so or Haku. In this case,
I would have actually thought about
if you call 1 more time here, you're waiting on a lone tile. Single tile, and
the thing is that if it's a lone tile, I don't know if I want it to be any of those 4 tiles that I see in front of me. I'd almost have wanted it to be the Haku.
Well, this is the more efficient way of getting there, because you're more likely to complete one of these 2 sequences, and ideally,
then you can figure out your pair later.
Yeah, ideally you pair up one of them, and then wait for the sequence in the other. We'll see what
that will probably buy time for everybody else, though, given the fact that, like, even though they have a double-sided weight on either side, it's still rather thin, and there's not any ways to improve it at this point unless they pair up one of those.
What's interesting, Elena dropped the Dora tile and found Tenpai another way, waiting for the East Wind as the only value, but this is Tenpai. The East has yet to come out. It's Alex who finds Reach, though, and this puts Dakota in a lot of trouble. With 3 calls already, there's very few tiles you can defend with.
1 4 pin, and given the fact that Alex has discarded the 5 and then the 2 back to back, you wouldn't necessarily think that he's waiting for 1 4, because if you discard the 5 first, you might think that the person either has a 1 4 or 6 9 weight. But then the 2 to pin discard would make it think that whatever he might have had on the low end is either gone or it's been completed.
Yeah, the only way you read that is if it was a 2 2 3 shape, which it was, but you'd have to be like extremely aware.
You would have figured, though, that that 2 pin discard would have meant that it was completed already, not that he's still waiting for it.
Right. And well, Tenpai.
And are all the 4s still alive?
They are. You have Tenpai all around. G2 got Tenpai on the 6 pin and has the opportunity to swap that out to another one. On the right, Brett has Tenpai, calls Khan, reveals the 3 mon to be door, which is not helpful for him, but very helpful for Elena on the left, who has 2 of those. And she is Tenpai in the 3 mon and 4.
No, but her weights are dead. It's the only person.
It's Brett. Toy.
Yeah. Elena's weights were dead. They were stuck in Dakota and Point's hands.
Wow.
Which is
So
definitely unfortunate considering that the Dora that ended up coming out with the con. Boy.
with everyone Tenpai once again, and Brett ends up winning that time. Move these two.
All right, and Brett here with the lead has some really good shapes. The 579 now with the what is that, the Ryoncon weight, the double Konchan weight with the 579 definitely helps out the hand. Already has the pair and the sixes. Could discard the 1-2, so eventually, given all the other stuff. So looks like as though his hand can easily move forward. Alex, again, playing the clothed game here, seemingly. Okay, doesn't have the Tanyao, but has some very good shapes in like the 2-2-3 mon and the 2-2-4, so can definitely build around that for sure. I think the next fastest person, or maybe the fastest person, could be Dakota on the left. Although they opted to discard their north pair. Oh, but there's one already. No, wait, both are gone. Never mind.
Yeah, that makes
We
sense.
still could have gone for a Honitsu possibly, but you have the two Dora. Never mind.
Yeah, it's
With the two
difficult.
Dora, Honitsu's out of the question and just going to build normally, and is actually not sitting that far away. But the one pin will complicate it by not being able to call. Although
Still, you'd be happy with this as a start. Interesting choice here. You kind of want to lock up the six mon as your pair, and I think that's why we see the 7 pin come out. So Ishanten now waiting for hopefully that Kanchan and the Sozu to be completed. Missing 3 so. Oh, and that's a nice upgrade. Now you can wait for 3-6.
Right.
So at this point for Dakota on the
although
left.
I would have wondered if you discarded the 4 mon and just get rid of it because it's near Dora and you're not going to be using it anyways, right?
Yeah, that's what I was about to say. Like, you might think about making whatever extra tile you have here as your Ishanten, 1 tile away from Tenpai, making it as safe as possible. Because your shapes are pretty much set. You're waiting for that 7-8 shape to be completed in the Pinzu, and the 4-5 shape to be completed in the Sozu. So like, maybe hang on to that white dragon, because that looks extremely safe.
8 mon over on Alex's side can actually give him Tanyao, forgoes it for now, because it's not guaranteed yet. Discards the Forso, which is then subsequently called by Elena, is going to have to discard that 1-2 mon, but was probably going to end up doing that anyways.
Probably. Yeah, that's a situation where I like maybe patience, although we are getting into the second row already. And
we're in the third row now.
Yeah.
Well, ish.
Yeah, we finished the second row, starting the third row. Tenpai for Dakota now.
Waiting for 6-9 for Richi Pin Fu Dora 2.
So this is Mongon, and we see 3 of the 9 pin discarded, 3 of the 6 pin in hand, so 2 of each left in the wall. The 9 pin being an outside tile.
There's only 1 6 pin left.
Oh, yeah. 1 of each in the wall. 2 tiles total remaining. And
I see. Sorry. Yeah. I thought you. I didn't see the other 9 pin. Yeah.
I may have misspoke. It looks like that. I don't know. Maybe you'd see the last 9 pin come out if someone were to draw it. And it's drawn by Oda himself. Sumo Pinfu Dora 2 and a Nuda.
Gets the turns it into a Hanamon. Another, say, relatively rare big hand so far.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Well, that puts Dakota into a strong first place. And so looking at these hands, we've got dealer with a fairly normal hand that 1 pin kind of blocks the Ipego chance, but we can still dream about it. So looking for a potential reach in the future. On the right, we've got Elena with, well, it looks like a normal hand as well. Reasonable shapes in the Manzu, already completed 1-2-3 set, and a potential for Itsu there. That will require discarding some of the other awkward shapes, like the 8-9 so perhaps. Across the way, we've got an Anko of 9 pin, and it looks like really good shapes. We have a Dora 7 mon, and so hoping for reach in the near future. And on the left, we've got that Anko of 9-mon, a completed set in the Pinzu, wonderful Sozu shape. It's looking really efficient for Brett, and I'm sure he'll be looking to make reach as soon as possible as well. Of course, you're not going to con that 9-pin from Dakota's perspective, and when you draw another Dora, now you have to think, do I just discard the 8 and lock that Dora in? Yes! And so this is now 1, 2, 3, 4 pairs, and one of those is an Anko. Not quite necessarily thinking about 7 pairs just yet, but perhaps we can make a Ricci hand. And it's Brett who calls.
Gentlemen, I'm sorry to interrupt. Maybe you could check the comms chat if you have the time.
Yeah, I'm trying to take care of that right now.
Okay, got it.
It looks like the
Thank you.
prison's already been taken care of, so I'll go ahead and try to get that squared away.
Okay, sounds good. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thanks, Jeremy. It's so awesome that we have so many of the volunteers watching these matches, as we are, who can jump in on a moment's notice and provide us with information that we need. So I really do appreciate that. And well, it was Brett with the first call, taking the Yakuhai East, and has a door in hand, so this could be a fast 2,000 or 2,600 point hand. And Alex, in the meantime, has found Ishan 10 with that Ipeco build. We were talking about that at the beginning. And pretty wide Ishan 10 here as well. It's Dakota, though, who declares reach first, waiting on the 4-7. And unfortunately, Alex draws that 4. Cannot use it. Well, he can use it, but he has to give up Ipeco to do so. So it'll be interesting to see how aggressively Alex fights. And Brett, in the meantime, has found Tempai drawing another Dora, upgrading from just 2 Han to 3 Han. And that 4-pin does come out from Alex's hand, fighting for the value, but unfortunately that tile deals into Reach Dora, 2, and an Uda for a Mangan. And so Dakota's lead only increases here. So we'll move on to East 4, Elena's first dealership. And it looks like her hand to start with has thoughts of a potential Sanshoku. And the 7-8-9, you do need to draw a little bit more of those tiles in the Manzu suit, but we can think about it at least. To the right, it's Dakota, who's got good Sozu shapes. Outside of that, a little bit awkward. Kanchan in the Pinzu with that 1-3 waiting for a middle tile. And a Penchan with the 8-9 pin waiting for the 7. We'll see if those weights can be upgraded a bit in the future. Across the table, we've got a completed set in the Pinzu and the Manzu, and this is looking like an Ishan 10 hand already. 1 tile away from Tempai. The problem is you're holding on to one of those Dora Haku. That White Dragon, well, it's just been discarded, so maybe you also want to discard that as well, from Brett's perspective. Instead chooses to hang on to it a little bit longer, trying to make more value, but with 2 now discarded, it's less likely that you'll be able to pair that up. And on the left, we've got Alex, who's got very Tanyao type shapes. So we might see Ricci Tanyao, or even make a call. Although from this point down to 13,000 points, you'd like to make a little bit more value. So we might see Alex hang on to these tiles and try to declare Ricci later on. Well, it looks like Elena hasn't progressed too much. It's really Brett's hand across the way that's still Ishan 10, still hanging on to that White Dragon. That's appearing to be a safe tile at this point. It's pretty unlikely that someone will be waiting on that last Dora tile. Well, we've got 4 pairs on the left for Alex. Perhaps you could turn this into a cheat toy? It's Brett who gets Tempai first as expected. Declares Ricci, waiting for Ricci Tanyao on the 2-mon and 6-pin. You see one.
Probably Alex had a chance for like just a Tanyao type hand to discard the 8-9 so, but got preempted by the Ricci.
And so now you can hopefully bail out into a 7 pairs hand, but at this point you're pretty much playing defense against this. And it's Elena who's got one of each of the winning tiles in hand. It seems pretty securely locked in hand, so I don't think we'll see that anytime soon. At this point, what's safe? You can drop your Pinzu tiles, 7, 8 are both safe, but that would be just giving up on the hand, and it looks like Elena's not quite willing to do that just yet. After all, Brett is closest behind Elena, so she definitely doesn't want
Elena
him to win.
switching possibly to a G-Toy here, and would be safe so long as not discarding the 2-mon.
Yeah, you really need to draw the last 2 mon. And
it's saved. Wait for the 8-pin, right? Wait for the 8-pin, right?
Well, there's 2 discarded, and 2 of the 7s discarded. So yeah, either one's Suji. Thinks about it. Also, once you hit that Ricci button, you have to drop one of the tiles. You can't go back. So it chose to discard the 8, waits on the 7. And that 7 is in hand for Dakota, who decides to drop a pair of 1s. So that would seem pretty safe against the dealer, at least.
I mean, Dakota's actually would have held both of Elena's tiles regardless of what she chose.
Yeah, that's true. Well, this is Tenpai for Dakota. It comes out, but Dakota can't win because he didn't declare reach and has no Yaku otherwise. Hoping to make it to Yukoku. You can switch your weight. Yep, there we go. And you're still playing safe because the 3-pin had just come out.
Yep.
And now it's the 4 worth pushing. And wow, Dakota finds Tenpai as well. So it's Elena, Brett, and Dakota all in Tenpai at the end there. We'll continue with the East 4 dealership. Second try for Elena, who, well, it's got a pretty normal starting hand. 1 door in there, but probably going to make a normal progression of honor tile discards towards a reach. On the right, we've got Dakota with that Shun pair. Can perhaps make a quick call and try to snap up the 2 Ricci sticks that are in the middle, as well as the 1 Homba would be an extra 300 points. Across, Across we've got, well, a fairly normal Pinfu type hand, and to the left we've got the Haku pair. That includes a door, so we might see a fast hand there as well.
The thing is, though, is that Alex hasn't really shown to necessarily open his hand, and so I wonder if they're going to try to find value somewhere.
Yeah, from the position, I mean, you're down in points, so you don't really want to open your hand, but perhaps the fact that it would be Haku plus a door is 2,000 at least. And then you've got the extra 2,300 in the middle. Maybe 4,300 is not too bad to fight for, especially now that Dakota's opened his hand. You don't want those points going to someone else if you can fight for it. So I think if the Haku comes out, we might see a call. Or you could just draw it yourself. And this is fantastic now for Alex, who has shapes pretty much locked together. However, it's Dakota who finds Tenpai first, discards the 4 to wait on the Suji 7, so for just Chun only. And it'll be 1,000 points plus all that in the middle.
Alex improved his chances of getting a decent weight out of this, because now could be looking at a Sean. Well, I don't know if a Sean point weight's any better than a Conchan weight, really. But
well, in the meantime, it's Brett who finds Tenpai as well, decides not to declare reach. This is Pinfu only.
Might be the reason why he's not declaring reach, because there's just not much value in the hand.
Yeah, you can stay quiet and win that sneaky Pinfu hand.
Especially with that Dora. I mean, especially if you're going to discard it, you're probably going to declare Ricci at that point.
Yeah, so it's a 1/4 weight, and wow, there are 6 of those tiles in the wall. Just an incredible. It was interesting for Dakota. Well, what's even more interesting is that Dakota drew his winning tile. So not only the 2 Ricci sticks that were in there before, but also the additional one from Brett. And we move to the South rounds.
Yeah, and the rich keep on getting richer, at least in this game for Dakota, who's looking to come back from that 4th place last game, which was unfortunate, but seems to be trying to get a healthy score out of this.
So far, so good.
Alex, meanwhile, is needing to play catch up again and try to possibly get himself into 3rd or 2nd, considering the point totals in the middle there.
There's a good chance.
Definitely has good shapes to work with, assuming that he can draw the tiles that he needs and can be rather fast at it. The door sort of helps, but makes it a little awkward.
I do think you value that door a little bit here. It plays pretty efficiently here. You still have a 2/3, which is a nice double-sided weight, and you keep the flexibility with the floating 3 mon and 6 mon and 2 so he can draw a
I think
connecting
the
tile anywhere around there.
I think the 3-mon kept was to try to find value in Sanshoku if they ever draws like the 2/4.
Mm.
The only thing is that if that stuff comes out from Dakota, that's going to be called by Brett, and it's going to be go time as usual here.
Well, another door drawn for Alex, so this is great, but
now I can flex. No, can't quite flex totally to Tanya because of that 2/3 pin.
Well, sneakily,
but
it's
at least it's Ishan 10.
Yeah, Dakota's found Tempai and his past couple turns has declined the Ricci because it would just be a 4-so, and with one RD discarded, it's hard to imagine someone would
so now
discard
it
it.
confirms the Tanya.
Wow, this is just what Alex needed.
Dora 2 at least.
Oh, that's Dakota's tile. He can't win.
That is unfortunate. I don't think Dakota will call Ricci here.
No, it's against dealer reach, and that seems very scary. Unless he gets an upgraded weight.
Wait, if it's dealer, then sorry, I was looking at the other way because dealer's actually across, isn't it?
Oh my, you're right. Let's switch over to Dakota's point of view. So we're still looking at Alex's hand, though. This is not a dealer reach, but it is Ricci Tanya Dora 2, waiting on the Dora tile and the 8-pin. We see one of each of those tiles is in the wall. Here's an 8-pin drawn by Brett.
And just to get away from it for now, but the 5-pin discard might make somebody think that the 8 might be droppable, but there's not a lot of pins who discarded, so you may end up not seeing it anyways, just because of what you see out there.
And Dakota now starting to play a little bit of safety. Discards that 2-mon pair. Brett's still fighting, though. Trying to make Toy.
But the Toy will pay in. That'll be the problem.
So Brett actually doesn't want to get Tempai.
Oh no, that's gonna be worse.
Oh no!
This is worse. This is bad.
Well, this is great for Alex, though. Ricci Tanya Dora 2, no Uda, so just a Mangan, but now we've got a battle for third. Let's go over
and this is perfectly fine on Dakota's side because it's just going to be those 3 people just battling it out for position while they can just kind of sit pretty at this point. Probably not have to worry about getting Sumoed out of or falling out of first place at this point, but you never know. Interesting shapes there. There's definitely something to work with, but it also doesn't seem like also not.
Yeah, you've got only 3 pairs, and well, that's a good fill. So you're just discarding normally and just hoping to get good draws at this point. All right. Well, this is 4 pairs, or 5 pairs now. So Alex looking at potential Chichoy with Dora 2 if you can draw the 7-pin. Although those shapes are somewhat normal, so we could see how this develops.
Not quite sure, though, because the East and the 9-mon are going to make it... Oh.
What's sad is that Dora came out, and we now see that Dakota's got all 3 of them, so that doesn't actually help Alex anymore as far as Chichoy is concerned.
No, but it did help him probably make that decision to drop the Dora, because otherwise that third 9-mon that he drew would have put a big question mark there.
This is template. Do you take it?
Does take it. He didn't have a choice. You weren't going to be able to wait for Dora 2, but I think he's finding a better weight than the 7-so, because if you look out on the table, there isn't a whole lot of Sozu discarded. We'll try to find a better weight. I don't even know if he'll reach it at that point, because he'll be stuck with Dora 3 sitting across from him, not knowing how close they are to being Tempai, which is still not quite yet.
It's interesting at reading the discards here. Oh, that's it.
See, if you are going to take the Ricci, you're going to Ricci waiting on the Chun. There you go.
It's a good one. One's already cut. It seems really unlikely that you'd be waiting on that tile.
Well, it depends, because if you also look at Alex's discards, there is no Sozu discarded. So then you think, well, it could be Sozu or it could be a Honitsu, but still the Chun comes out anyways, gets paid off.
Ricci 7 pairs, no Uda. That's the beautiful thing about 7 pairs is oftentimes get the chance to hit 2 Uda Dora.
And with that Chun, even when I was talking about the Honitsu, the Chun still is more likely to come out than a Sozu because
Agreed.
you're always worried about some type of like Ryumen weight or something like that. At least with the Chun, it's a Tonki weight, and again, may not necessarily be. It won't be as expensive because at least it's not like a Honitsu or anything like that. Chitoy is probably the best thing they could have expected out of that.
Words of advice from the master of Chitoy, Edwin himself. And looking at this hand, Dakota already with a fast Chun call and great shapes. This is Ishan 10 already. Tenpai already.
For speed at that point.
And unfortunately for Brett,
I think you can just sit back at this point.
Yeah, that just comes out immediately.
Sitting back. We're up to the next hand now.
Well, that was a fast one. No commentary needed there. From Dakota's perspective, just winning a fast and cheap hand is perfect. Now it's Elena's turn to make up some ground. I mean, it's such a long battle to get to first place, but this is your last dealership, so you can take a dealer run. You just keep winning hands.
I think the best thing in this point is to try to get some space between you and the other two players behind you, and then you can worry about maybe having a no 10 hand or something like that and just ending the game. But as it stands right now, you can't really do anything like that because it's just too close. So you're gonna definitely see if a Chun comes out at some point along the line that Elena is gonna call and just try to go with it. Although looks like Brett's going for a toy hand. Is that gonna be it? Will that be enough? It would be Yakuhai toy, so that'd be what? That'd still only be 3,900?
Well, it's gonna be 52 because he's gonna get if he gets the Yakuhai.
Oh yeah, because of the West. Yeah, West and the yeah, sure.
But that's going to need to be a direct hit.
No, 52 is
the gap is the gap is close enough.
Okay, the Yakuhai
shade over and see that the gap is only 6,700. So 5,200 point sumo would be a 78 net exchange. That would be enough.
The only issue that I see with it is the fact that one of the two pairs that Brett does have is the 4-pin. And that's probably going to make it a little bit more awkward for him to try to finish that, just because it's such a central tile. He's going to have to hope he pairs up, like say the 8-so or something like that, to make it a little bit easier on him to try to call.
Well, as it is, we have Tenpai already on the right. It's Dakota again with a fast hand, waiting for that Haku or Haku.
That Haku's gonna come out from anybody. Except for maybe Alex. Alex might be the only one that will not discard anything because he's holding on to that West, the green and red dragons, like as if he's for dear life. So I imagine he's holding this hand.
Just try it yourself, huh?
So
well, that's wonderful for Dakota. Unfortunate for the rest of the table. I guess the only other person who's happy is Elena to not drop to second, or rather to third.
Right.
But the story of this game was Dakota with a massive victory, 60,000 points total. That's good for a plus 50.9, and Elena finishing second with negative 7.8. Point negative as well, and then Brett comes in fourth. It's almost like a complete reversal of the scoreline in the last game.
It's not even just a complete reversal. It's the fact that Dakota now is the only one positive at the table so far through 2 games.
All right. Well, I believe they had scheduled 2 games, and I wonder who else is up on the schedule.
I know. So that game hasn't started yet then.
Yeah, it looks like for the other tables we've got a B2 table here with Josh and Clinton Muos and Jowser.
That one's in progress.
That one's going. It looks like
the 1006 one's would be just starting, right?
Sure. Should we switch over there then?
Might as well. We'll just have come in right at the beginning.
Very cool. So let's take a look. I don't want to be in /3. I want to be in /4. There we go. So who's at this table?
So I noticed one of them is Blaine.
Oh, Blaine, who I got the opportunity to commentate with not too long ago.
And then Diebe is
Austin. And then we've got Jeremiah and Steven. I'm guessing Jeremiah is J-dubs, but that's just a wild guess.
Yeah, that's right.
And so then that would be Steven on the left with the name that I cannot read.
And actually tried translating that when I saw it initially. So here we are, East 1. Blaine could push for Honitsu here, does. With 2 Dora, that's going to be rather expensive.
Beach.
But Jeremiah gets Tenpai first. Waiting for one... Oh, no, just the Formon. So just on the Dora. And that's definitely not going to come out from Blaine's hand, because they're really trying to find value out of that, and they are sitting Ishan themselves. Now sitting Tenpai, waiting for 6-9 Mon. Although he just ate 3 of the 6s, but doesn't care because this hand is so expensive. Wonder how everybody else is going to play this, because you have a Rishi, you have a dealer that looks awfully scary in the suit that you don't want them to be waiting on, which is a Dora suit. I would imagine that given what I see over there, I'm not the only person that might push is Steven, but not sure if he will in this particular situation, considering it's East 1, or it could just be because it's East 1, they are going to go for it. But I would imagine that Austin is done and not going to deal with any of this nonsense and get out as soon as possible. So really it's going to be a matter of between Blaine and Jeremiah to see who completes. Ooh, so Steven does push, because now has the confirmed Sanshoku, figures it's expensive enough to go for it, not knowing necessarily how where everybody else is sitting. There's the 8, and somehow, despite what the other 2 hands were out there, Steven's the one that gets paid off for 5,200. Unfortunately, much to Blaine's chagrin, considering he had what? Yakuhai Honitsu Dora 2?
That was a gorgeous hand.
Which would be like a dealer Rangan for 12,000, but it's still 12,000.
Well, good start for Steven. Jeremiah dealer now, starting with that Uncle of the Red Dragon. Always feels nice to start with a set of 3 of the Yakuhai in hand.
Because the Dora is one of his Kanchan weights, so may not get it from anybody. It may end up being the final weight. Ooh. Also now has 3 pairs along with the Yakuhai or Shun. Depending on what he gets next, he might have to flex around otherwise.
Yeah, really interesting choosing to discard the 6 so there. Thinking a pair-based hand or a toy perhaps.
I think that might be the way to try to get. They're figuring to get value out of this. The only other person that might be able to move as fast might be Austin, but he's got some Kanchan weights, so it's not that great. Oh, never mind. If I'm looking over at Blaine's side, still sitting Yanshanten, but could actually somehow turn that into a Tanyo hand with a couple of calls.
Yeah, you'd be dropping west there, but I mean, if you're calling to Tenpai, that isn't necessarily terrible. The hand across from us doesn't look bad either. There's potential Ipeko, if not for the fact that one of those, either the 2 or the 3, is likely going to be your pair. Probably the 2 so. But that's not too far away. 1 tile away from Tenpai. We could see that catching up. And
now Jeremiah's got a chance to at least make his final weight a little better if it ends up being that with the Dora, because now it's a Ryamen weight on 2-5. So now we might actually see a call, especially now with Austin calling twice here, if they get a chance.
Yeah. It's kind of awkward because you want that East pair to be a set, not just a pair. See if Austin can pair something else up and be able to call for some extra value.
I imagine Austin will try to make the 1 mon his pair if he has to. If the East comes out, he might call and wait on the 1 mon. Doesn't need to, though.
You just sumo. And we move to East 3.
Manages to bank 1,500 on to East 3. And Austin up now as dealer. Shapes look pretty decent. Could certainly make a Tanyo out of this with a couple of right draws, although the Kanchan weights are a little awkward to start with. Steven can probably just hit the go button as soon as a tune comes out and finish his hand quickly, or if he draws the right tiles, he might just be able to declare reaching and get the Yakuhai as well. Austin actually got a chance to improve now because now he could also do the same thing should a Haku come out. Blaine has the other, so there's 3 guys that have Yakuhai at this point, that once the third tile comes out, I imagine the go button's being hit. And that only leaves Jeremiah, who unfortunately the hand looks rather slow. Oh, never mind. Why is it when I always comment on something like that, I have to like edit it?
They always get the perfect draw right as you say it. Again, that commentator's curse. It's not a curse, though. It's
when they get the draw.
Could you please, when I play in my next match, could you just say Nathaniel has a terrible hand so that I can just draw all the tiles I need?
Why can't I get this? I don't care. That's the other thing. It's like, do I have to commentate on my own games and it works out this way? Anyways. So nobody else who has the Yakuhai pair. Well, now.
There we go.
No!
It's Austin who finds Senpai with that call. This is going to become a thing. This is going to be...
Sentence!
Well, we haven't seen the Hatsu yet. It just doesn't work when I say it. Oh, there it is. There it is. Okay. It's starting to rub off on me, too.
It's starting to rub off now.
Yeah.
So now that's called...
I can't imagine the 5-so is leaving anybody's hand anytime soon.
Doesn't need to.
I think we figured something out here. I really do think we've got something.
If my mic wasn't hooked onto a little stand here, I'd drop it and walk away.
Well, I mean, are we going to say something about these hands, or is that too risky? I mean, Austin has a hand.
Just look to your left. Look to your left.
Oh my goodness, look at that.
Jeremiah, Chinitsu chance. I can't stop laughing.
What is this? 1, 2, 3, 4 pairs and an uncle already. It could be Chinitsu Toy. Oh no, there's another pair. This is
Chitoy. Just Chitoy. Honitsu Chitoy at that point.
Okay, you can't call that last tune, right? Because you could, calling cheapens the hand to just, well, it's Mangan. It's Mangan. No, it's 3Han.
Yeah.
So you pass the tune maybe and try to make Chitoy with it?
Well, I mean, the thing is, you have so many pairs. If you make an Onko of any of the other things, now you're thinking Suonko, and throwing around Honitsu on top of that, like you need it.
Right, or you could call for like the Chinitsu in that case.
And here's the thing: it's like you look at it on the table. Okay, one of the 5 mons is accounted for. One of the 8 mons are accounted for. Both of them by Blaine. So the tune is now dead. So it's a little bit harder now. Once you get to the end of the first row, I don't know how long you're going to wait before you decide that you're just going to go for maybe a Chitoy instead.
And it's not like anybody at the table can necessarily read that this is Honitsu yet. I mean, look at the discards. 4-so, west, west, and north.
Pinzu out because you'd have to worry about that bit. Although, with Blaine dropping the 6 pin and it not being called, speaking of Blaine, that's 2 Onko and another... That's also a possible Honitsu across the table, depending.
If that was going to be Honitsu, that early discards didn't quite fit.
Yeah.
I'm curious. Well, okay. Jeremiah says, I do not want to call here. I'm not going to cheapen my hand. So we're building a closed hand. Not quite sure what it's going to be just yet.
With the tunes gone, it's going to be a little harder, I think, for the...
Each.
Oh
my.
So
1-4.
It's a 1-4. So it's not actually it's just a Riichi Honitsu. Not that it's not expensive.
No, for sure.
Probably it wouldn't have been able to make much more of that, all things considered, given what we see on the table.
Yeah, and if you draw the 4, you're probably calling Sumo instead of dreaming about drawing the 5 as well for Suanko, so...
The only thing is, with that 1-2 pin discard before the Riichi, nobody's dropping Monzu at this point.
Yeah, it is. Well, now it might. Steven declares reach, and this is waiting on the 7 only, the 7 pin. So any Monzu draws will be coming out, and well, how many are left? There's no 4s left. Those are all locked away, so it's just the 1 Mon. There's 2 locked in.
Which are 2 left.
Yeah, I don't
It's
think...
2 versus 2 at this point.
Yeah, I don't think Austin's discarding those Monzu tiles, so it really comes down to the wall here.
And there's the 1.
Well, let's take a look here. Riichi Honitsu.
Oh wait, there's the Ipeiko, right? 3, 3, 4, 4, 5, 5. So
It ends up working out great.
yeah, ends up being the Mongon. Did not hit the Orador, even if it was a Monzu there, but you take the 8,000.
Well, you know why he didn't hit the Uda, right? None of us said anything about Uda up to that point. If we'd called it, guarantee he would have gotten it. I mean, that's just the way the game's been going so far.
Well, thankfully there wasn't as some nonsense in that way, so that we could actually take a breather here.
Yeah, that's true. Well, Steven gets a chance here to pull back some points, and not
draws
too bad.
the Kanchan 8 Mon, so certainly helps out in that sense. The thing is, though, with those Sozu the way it stands, you could have thought for an Itsu, but the fact that you have a 4-5, now maybe you're more entertaining a Sanshoku if possible, depending upon what you draw. Especially if you end up drawing a pair elsewhere.
Oh.
Blaine just draws the Kanchan 8 Mon, or 8 So.
Yeah,
Definitely improving his hand that way. Could look for the Itsu.
Ooh, doesn't.
Doesn't go for it.
No, prefers to keep that 5 So as a pair and maybe find Pinfu. But Itsu is worth 2 Han if you can get it closed. I do kind of like fighting for that. There is the opportunity for Tanyao this way, though. And that's more of a standard Yaku, I guess. But
I get the only other thing I can think of is maybe you're trying to incorporate Dora again if you draw the 8, because then you could do something with that, maybe. But if you had kept the 9, you'd be sitting Tenpai right now, wouldn't you?
Yeah, you'd be sitting Tenpai for Itsu. As it is, you're Tenpai for Pinfu. So it does declare the reach. Oh, chooses the Shampoo weight instead. And now has to fight Jeremiah.
You get immediately chased. Yeah.
Well, neither of these weights are spectacular. Jeremiah just waiting for the 4 So. And we only see 2 left in the wall. One's completely locked away in Blaine's hand. And for Blaine, he's looking for the 6 pin and the 5 So. Well, we see the 5 So's are in hand. And only 1 6 pin left in the wall, so it might be a while before we see one of these tiles.
And I would say that would allow the other people to catch up. I don't think Austin's messing around and is probably just bailing on the hand. So allows the other players to maybe fight it out between each other, and that's what happens.
Wow. So we got 2 really increased the value of that hand for Jeremiah.
Yeah, that's unfortunate for Blaine there.
Got the first reach and unfortunately didn't pan out.
Well, fortunately for Blaine, it's his dealership, South 1, so definitely could make up some ground here.
What a great start,
The shapes actually look really good.
We have Yamen.
Yeah.
No overlapping either.
Yeah, can't call, but can certainly get this hand finished quickly with the right draws here.
Yeah, I'd be quite pleased with the start.
Austin across is probably entertaining a Honitsu.
Tons of Pinzu in hand there, and the door is the south wind, which would, you can keep that in a Honitsu hand. We are also in the south round.
Yeah, nobody. The thing is, it's in nobody's hands. They're all in the wall, so it'll be interesting what happens when people start drawing them.
Do you think the hand on the right has a chance at Honitsu, or is the 2-3 too strong to discard?
Possible, but question is, I mean, for instance, the north comes out. Do you call that or do you sit? So there's the Dora.
It's the first one we've seen.
Doesn't commit to it yet. Austin's committed to his Honitsu. Draws the west, so now also has a Yakuha you can throw on top of that.
Blaine now, Ishanten, deciding
Yep,
which
Blaine's
shape.
地
Interestingly, drops the Sozu.
And we
Gets called.
see the call, yeah.
Austin doesn't call his. Opting to wait. There's no Tanya chance, so the 6-0 doesn't quite help, but you probably could have just
Gee.
discarded the 9 instead, but instead gives the 6 up, allows Jeremiah to call again. Still not Tenpai, still not even Ishan 10, but nobody else knows that.
Can't call here. Uh-oh, you've got Dora, and it looks like Honitsu on the right. Dare you discard that?
Can't, not with 2 calls. It's just too
地
dangerous. There's another call.
Dropping Sozu just feeds the Honitsu hand, though.
Yeah, that's interesting there. I mean, is it just maybe to scare everybody else away? I don't know.
Yeah, but if that hand does complete, and maybe it's not Honitsu, maybe it's Chinitsu with the 2 honor tiles that have been discarded so far, and if that hand gets sumoed as dealer, you're paying a pretty hefty price for that. Well, you certainly don't want to discard the south at this point. It feels pretty dangerous to do so. And so it looks like Blaine's hand might be coming to an end here. Well, not Stevens.
Steven declaring Ricci again, waiting on just the 3-pin. And Steven's actually from our club, and from what I've known playing against him, he's very aggressive in terms of these things, in terms of declaring Ricci in the first place, regardless of the weight. So like we've seen him with several bad weights here, and doesn't matter, he'll just hit the button.
Well, the one thing he's got going for him is Jeremiah can't keep the 3-pin, so if he draws another one, it will come out, and well, I wonder what Jeremiah could be waiting on. Oh goodness, 1 tile in hand.
There's only one person that South's going to come out of somebody else's hand from, and that's from the person that's declared Ricci.
2 left in the wall, so it's not unlikely. And there's only 1 3-pin left in the wall. Oh my goodness. Blaine found Tenpai, unfortunately.
It goes to decide to discard the Dora, and I guess
it's so tempting when you're dealer and you're a little bit down in points. You want to get that continuation.
Yeah, unfortunately, it just didn't work out, and now is, I won't say in a complete world of hurt, but is certainly going to need help with no dealership left.
Yeah, that's always, the tricky question. Is that tile worth pushing against what you could see on the board? And in this case, well, we see the results. It dealt into Mangan, and that unfortunately puts Blaine in a bit of a difficult position moving forward. Not out though. I mean, there's still chances.
Actually, if you look at his hand right now, it's not terrible. He's got a Ryankan weight, double Kanchan weight with a 2-4-6. The pair, unfortunately, right now is the 1-pin. But if he's able to shift somehow, he could look at an Itsu.
Yeah, with Dora
with at least a Dora. Needs to find the pair, but could possibly at least get those 8,000 points back.
Yes, chances for Blaine here. And for dealer, I'm loving these Sozu shapes. Wondering.
Yeah, Jeremiah's looks like, especially with that 7-pin discard next to Dora, I imagine that's a commitment to a Honitsu at least.
And I've seen some people in that sort of situation hang on to the 7-pin and discard the 1-2 instead. Because if you draw your Honitsu tiles, then you're getting rid of the 1-2 anyway. And if you draw Dora, maybe you give up on Honitsu because you can build a normal hand that incorporates Dora. As it is now that the 7-pin is gone, if you were to draw Dora, you're kind of forced to just throw it back, and you're stuck with the 1-2 that, I mean, it's close to being a set, but it's not amazing. Only waiting on the 3-pin. So it does seem like Jeremiah is definitely thinking Honitsu here.
Can't call the 7. Never mind.
And unfortunately, and with that 8-mon draw, maybe thinking about heading back towards a normal hand with just an Ipeco instead. Well, things have progressed on Blaine's side of things. Still has options for that Itsu. You'll note he discarded one of the 1-pins.
It's a little bit more difficult, though, with the Onko of 2s. It made it rather more difficult because now he's got to re-find a pair.
Well, yeah, you're probably... The only issue is that you might find Tenpai first, but as it is, if he were to get to Tenpai, he could just drop the extra 2, because you need a 2-pin and a 4-pin anyway. So you draw the 2-pin, you drop the 9, you draw the 4-pin, and then you just discard the extra, the 2-mon, and get that nice shape. So he's totally fine here. It's just, will he get Tenpai before he gets the Itsu is the problem. And if he were to fill in any of these Kanchans now, that is technically Tenpai, and he might not want that. He might want a little bit more.
Hands, they could be good, but at the same time, there's still something awkward about each one of them.
Like the hand across from us looks great from a Tanyao perspective, and the only problem being you've got that 5-so, 7-so sort of Shampoo weight where you'd really like to have a sequence weight for Pinfu as well. Oh, that tile doesn't super help. So still waiting, and uh-oh, what do you do with the Dora? Discards it, and fortunately it's safe. We are getting into the middle of the second row, and so maybe that tile starts to get dangerous, but not just yet. Well, this is another pair for Jeremiah. Immediately discards the 2-pin, and Ishanten still waiting to complete that. Well, hopefully completing that Ipeco and the Sozu.
Getting semi-useful draws, but not anything that can really make somebody feel a little bit more comfortable that they're progressing in their hand.
Yeah, the hand on the right's been played just about as efficiently as you can play a hand, and the draws just have not been there. Well, you can
guess is that we're going to approach the point where people might just call for K10, where they're just Tenpai on no Yaku, but just try to get Tenpai payments.
Yeah, that was an interesting
It's
choice.
either that, or it could just be an exhaustive draw, as nobody draws anything useful.
Well, Steven's hand is now approaching Yanpeiko. If you draw a 3-so and a 5-mon.
Yeah. Like I said, it was not useful until he drew that 4-so. And now hands are moving across all over the place.
And we see Austin doing exactly what you said, calling. It's not going to be for Yaku, but just trying to hit Tenpai as there's only 16 draws left in the game. Oh my. So Steven may be thinking Choi Toy with that 3-so discard. I kind of prefer keeping the sequences there, but this would be Toy Toy and Tanyao if you can get there.
And as you're looking out there, yeah, nobody's hand is coming together, really.
Yeah, at this point for Blaine, you kind of have to give up on Itsu and just hope to get Tenpai.
Yeah, I think this is the point where, like, I kind of figured with everybody's hand not really drawing. I say this, and Stephen draws another useful tile.
So you can call once for Tenpai. And Jeremiah's also 1 tile away from Tenpai as well.
Well, I mean, Stephen's technically 1 tile away from Suwanko Tenpai, but we're so late, it's not going to matter.
Right. Austin didn't get there. Steven didn't get there. Nobody got there in the end.
Yeah. Exhaustive draw. Nobody could get to Tenpai. Yeah.
Yeah, those hands,
a lot of frustrated people all around, really, I would imagine.
You're feeling, I'm going to have to pay points. This is maybe a little bit of relief that you didn't have to pay no 10 payments, but if you really wanted to make up some ground in that hand. Well, fast call from Blaine. West Yaku High, and looks like he's going to fight for Honitsu.
Yeah, I think at this point, he's just going to try to get some points now and maybe wait until South. Well, no, he could still go for Honitsu. There's still a chance for that, so could still pull some value out of this. So
yeah,
I thought it might have just been a 1,000 point and try to make it up in the last hand, but he could actually pick up with the Yakuhai Honitsu, like 4,000 points or 4,200 with the Honba, and at least make something of it, or 4,300 if he sumos, and make something of it going into all last.
Lighten that gap and make it easier in the next round. Well, the dealer's hand is amazing. Look at this. Ishan 10 already.
Just Ishan 10. Would love to finish off that Monzu side, and as opposed to having to wait for it.
And that shape 44688 is incredibly efficient, as you can draw any of the tiles 4 through 8, except for the 6, of course, to get into Tenpai. If you draw the 4, then you complete an Anko and drop the 6. Draw 5, you complete a sequence and drop the 4. Similarly,
Unfortunately,
for the
Steven's
7 and
hand
the
is
8.
coming together quite a bit as well, and I'm not sure how much time Austin's going to have here.
Well, it's
Never
Tenpai.
mind. Nah.
You're doing it again,
He
Edwin.
has all the time in the world now because he just declares Ricci.
Well, 5-8 wait for Ricci Pinfu. And we've got, 2 8s, 3 8s visible, 1 5 visible. So 4 tiles
And if
left in the
there's
wall.
overflow tiles from Blaine, this could turn out to be bad.
So far, Blaine's still got enough safety, but Steven now.
gets Tenpai, hits the button, and goes.
Slightly worse way, just the 4-pin, and we see 1 4-pin. Oh, well, another 4-pin drawn, but Jeremiah needs that.
What's he going to drop here?
The Tumon is safe.
Yeah, I would say the 2/4 at least. He could, if worse comes to worse, but at that point he's given up on the hand. Oh no, yeah, it's because there's no Itsu anymore.
Oh my, it's the Kanshan weight that wins. Each Sumo and an Ura, so that is nice. 1,000, 2,000 for a moderate gain.
That actually puts him ahead of Austin heading in here into all last.
So Austin paying a little bit extra as dealer ends up costing. And, well, we're going to have a battle now. Austin just wants to win.
Draws the door. Doesn't really have anything to call with, but I don't think he cares. If he finds Ricci, he's just going to hit the button. Blaine really needs some help here. 16,000, a little under 16,000 adrift. So would have to hit Austin directly with a Mongon. Might have the hand to do it.
Even then, you're 100 points short. So.
Oh yeah, 16-1. You're right.
Ooh. Oh. I mean, you could try to build Sanshoku here. There's a chance, and you've got a Dora. Sanshoku Dora 1, Reach Pinfu. Maybe direct hit Hanemon is possible here.
Yeah, it's either that or maybe you draw the Dora, shift out of the 9-pin. Maybe work your way towards an Ipeiko with a 7-7-8, and you don't see any Sozu out there yet. Maybe you could enter, if you get draw the right tiles, you could think Ryan Peiko. This is if you're just trying to find anything to get yourself the 12,000, the Hanuman that you need at this point.
And unfortunately, it looks like Jeremiah's progressing quite nicely. He's just trying to lock up his spot, and, well, he's already Ishan 10. 1 tile away from Tenpai here. Would ideally like to fill in that Sozu shape, the nice Monzu weight. On the left, we've got Austin is waiting for.
There's the Dora draw.
Anything.
You can shift out of the 9. You're gonna shift out of the 9, aren't you?
And that's great because then you get the 6-7-8 Sanshoku with 2 Dora now. Oh.
What?
Oh.
Huh. I wonder why.
I think perhaps upon review, he might decide otherwise. And, well, Austin is also Ishan 10.
It's an ugly Ishan 10, unfortunately.
Yeah, no matter how you get Tenpai, you're going to be waiting on an unfortunate wait.
Oh, and there's the 8-pin, and if he had just kept the 6, that's an Ipeiko right there.
Ooh, well, that could have been massive, and we could still see a huge hand.
Eat.
It's a little bit more difficult. In the meantime, Jeremiah finds Tenpai, declares Reach even.
We'll wait on the Shanpon 2.
Well, no, it's Chichway here, actually. So
wait, is it? Oh, you're right. Never mind. Why can't I see that? It's probably just from across the table. I was looking at all the Monzu and I wasn't even thinking about it because I figured there were like Ipeco or stuff like that across.
I wonder if Jeremiah did the same thing because that Ricci button comes up, you click it, and you're like, wait a second, where's my double-sided weight here? I have to drop the 4, and this is just Chitoy.
No, Tanya Chitoy.
Oh, Tanya Chitoy, that's true. Yeah, the 6
Not that he needs it because he's in first, but I would
Right.
imagine that he would have hoped that his weight was a little bit better, but
Well, that's the last 6-mon drawn, and
that's the last 6.
it could come out of Steven's hand if he finds Tempai. Depends on how he finds Tempai. Well, as it is, we can see that he's not going to find Tempai in a way that can really include the 6s unless he chooses the worse weight.
Well, where are the 3 so's? Because that's really what would dictate it, I think.
You see one on the table, 2 now.
There's 2 now out.
And
because he can't call the 1 mon because those are dead. The 6 mon is dead.
This is such a difficult position for Steven because do you fight this hand if everyone's no 10 except for Jeremiah at the end? Sure, Jeremiah gets first, but then you get second, but then you lose 1,000 points, so then you're dropping under 30,000. You kind of want to fight for Tempai, but you also don't want to deal in and fall to third.
I think Austin is definitely trying to Mawashi his way around or try to discard his way around to try to get back to Tempai somehow, or get back to Tempai and keep it, because he knows that if he can be Tempai, if somehow Steven isn't, then wait, that's not Tempai either. So he's definitely no 10. Looks like the game might just end here.
Well, Blaine fighting. There's 3 draws left. He needs the 7 mon. See 1, 2 left in the wall, and these 3 tiles. Could it be there?
Well, he's got Hote, so he's hoping for
last tile he possible. Valiant effort there.
Yeah, unfortunate though. There was a little, for a couple of mistakes there, possibly that could have increased the hand value and maybe have had a chance to get out of last. But
it turns out that he never ended up drawing that 6-9, or importantly the 6. So it didn't end up costing him too much. But well, it turns out Jeremiah finishes in first with a nice plus 30.5, and since everyone else fell below 30,000, even second place gets a negative score, negative 1.2. Negative 6.6 for Austin.
Actually, looking at the standings, he's 3 for 3 so far. So,
Jeremiah?
Yeah, he's first place. He's been first place at the table. Nobody's really been able to touch him, and Austin is really the only one that's kind of avoided damage so far.
Okay. Well, looking at the players, Jeremiah is the only new player, the only player at this table who hadn't played in the Inaugural Beta League. And so, quite interesting to see that he's got the early 3 first places, and that throws him way at the top of the standings.
Well, and here's the other thing. Like, remember how we talked about in the other matchup about Alex and Point with his numbers? Like, I thought he was I considered him a pretty good player, and probably was unfortunate to end up in B2. You could definitely say the same thing about Austin, because I know that Austin is a strong player out of PML, and you can already see that with his Dawn ranking and everything. And unfortunately for him, again, it's the same problem. He's not really dealing in, but he wasn't really winning either. And a narrow gap like that's not going to help you a whole lot in the end.
Well, at least it's not a big deficit to come back from. This is just the first week, and so definitely plenty of time. And well, it's just incredibly impressive to see 3 first places. I remember that happened in the Beta League in one of the final weeks. A player won all 4 of the matches in their set and basically locked up their spot in A1. And so this is early for Jeremiah, but an amazing start. We'll see if he can pull off all 4. The game will start in a couple minutes, so we've got a little bit of time.
Yeah, probably just take a stretch break, especially after the games have been going fast and furious. Take a water break, do whatever you need to do. I actually need to take a small break myself. So yeah, we'll probably catch you in another minute or two here.
Yep, sounds good. Well, it looks like we're underway in game number 4 between Jeremiah, who is our dealer, Steven on the right, playing across from us, and on the left, Austin. Jeremiah, after having won the first 3 games of the set, looking to complete a perfect set of first places and starting off quite well. We've got what looks to be a Tanyao Pinfu type start with excellent shapes, and that one pin can be your pair for that hand. Really good start there. On the right, not bad either. We've got already 2 complete sets in the Manzu and a complete set in the Sozu. So actually this hand is Ishan 10 and only improving as we draw more and more tiles. Across, Blaine's got a pair of Norths, which is not Yakuhai. That can act as a pair in this hand, which does fill the 7, 8, 9 shape. So already 2 sets completed, including that Dora 7 so.
And Austin, that's called the Forso already, and looks to push the what probably will end up being a Honitsu, hopefully including Dora, but we'll just probably take whatever they can get at this point, considering what their hand looks like.
Yeah, you can call the East as well, get Honitsu with Yakuhai. But those discards, 5 Mon, 5 pin, 7 pin, 3 pin, making it very clear to the table what's going on here.
Yep.
And, well,
especially in the Dora suit, it's going to make it a little bit uncomfortable for some of the others at the table, possibly.
Dealer finds themselves Shanten now. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 pairs now. You don't switch because the shapes are good, I think. Yeah, you like that 5, 6 shape because it can incorporate the 7 so, which is Dora. And so I like the play from
Although
Jeremiah.
It's a little, I'd maybe a little squeamish to drop that 5 so, considering what you see to your left, but only one call, so you're not necessarily pegging them on being Tenpai just yet.
Yeah, we hadn't seen any honor tiles come out yet, or the 8 so was the first Sozu, and that happened after the 5 so came out, so it seemed unlikely that he would have found Tenpai so early. And across the way, Blaine's found another Dora and had been keeping that 8 so hanging around just in case that happened. So now Ishan 10 for Pinfu Dora 2 does have to discard that East. How soon will he do it? I think he's saving it for later because, well, you don't want to give that to Austin, who's waiting for that, as well as the West and the Chun.
Jeremiah can't quite call this Dora because of the fact that even if he did, there's a possibility he'd have a 6-9 pin weight, and that would just not work.
There is.
And Lane finds his Ipeco Tenpai with 2 Dora waiting on 5-8. But now Austin with 2 quick calls is now Tenpai himself waiting for 3-6.
And the flurry
And
of
the action is
action.
just go, go, go.
Oh, he bought Sumo. Steven had found Tenpai in the 147. He bought Sumo Pifu. No Ura. So just the 5200 plus the 2 Rigi sticks.
Kind of what we call the sad 4-han hand, because it's the 4-han hand that, at least with Kyriage Mangan, doesn't get you to a Mangan.
Oh, looks like I'm in /4. Do you mind if I take a second to switch perspectives?
Yep, no problem.
All right, let's go ahead and do that. I forget that when you click on the game, it defaults you to /3, and I really do like the setup for Tenho/4.
Yeah, Tenho/4, for those that aren't familiar, at least has the localization. So it's not full localization because it still has the Yaku in kanji, but at least the rest of it's in English, so at least a little better to move it around with.
And importantly, on /4, all the tiles show up on the screen, so that's also a big benefit.
Although you might want to switch dealership over to
let's go ahead and do that.
There.
It looks like Jeremiah, though, with that early tune call, looking for Honitsu. Honitsu, the Yakuhai.
Honitsu, possible Chanta. Well, no, not quite Chanta, because the 6 makes it a little bit more unlikely. But
look at this dealer hand. It looks really pretty outside of that 2-4 shape. But you're Ishanten already for.
It's not terrible because did discard the 6 to commit to the 2-4. Maybe setting a trap. Who knows?
Yeah, and you got a door in there too. So you.
There's the Tenpai.
Oh, that's not.
What's the Tenpai? There's no pair. Sorry.
I was interested in seeing if Steven would have discarded the 4-2 there, because you can think of the 7 as your pair, and then you've got a 1-4-7 weight as well as a 3-6-9 weight, and you can also pair up whichever of the pin tiles you kept. As it is, it's Austin who gets the first Tenpai.
Waiting on the 1-4-7 of his own. The 7 Mon discard backfires. He would have had the possible Tenpai. Discards the 1. Is going to commit to the 3-pin weight.
And didn't discard the 4 because that would be Dora. That would not be good. The 1-4-7 weight looks better. But we've seen this before. And Jeremiah's in a little bit of trouble. With all of these calls, you don't really have defensive tiles to work with. We see a 5 and a 2 coming out. That's just on the wrong Suji set. So now it's Blaine who's drawn 4 of the winning tiles.
What will he consider discarding here?
That's nice. Suji on the 5. Wow, it happens always. The Samenchan, the 3-sided weight, loses out to the Kanchan. And, well, it's a Mangan. So Steven with an excellent start, winning 2 hands early, including dealer 12,000, puts him in a commanding lead.
And it has another quick hand on deck here with the Yakuhai pair.
Yep.
Could easily incorporate the Dora, so we're looking at 2,900 at least. And can start calling, but nobody has the Haku yet to discard, so you might have to wait a bit. Although considering what everybody else is around the table, maybe only Jeremiah has anything that could compete in terms of speed, but is going to need a little bit of help filling in some of those bad weights.
Well,
I don't know if Austin... Yeah, I didn't think Austin was going to call that West.
Yeah. I mean, the hand doesn't look that far progressed, and you've got that lonely door sitting there. Might want to draw some more, and well, this is a nice pickup. So now you can call for 2 Yakuhai. Calls the second West, so opens up the hand, and it looks like just a 2-han hand, but if you can pair up the door or even wait on the door as a Tanki weight, that's a Mangan if you can also get the Hatsu.
Yeah, probably looking to see if he can somehow incorporate that, but it might come out sooner rather than
drawing
later.
that 6. I mean, if you pair it up, of course, that's wonderful, and you'll retain it in hand. So keeps the flexibility by dropping the 8-mon first.
I think the only way that Dora is not coming out is if he draws it as a pair, and then he might consider Toy Toy. Maybe. Depends on how fast I think he thinks the other hands are. Which, again, the only one that's really in play right now is Stevens.
Yeah, dealer now 1 tile away from Tempai. And look at what Austin just did. Drew the 3-so, now discarding 6-mon, 5-mon. Seems to be shifting this to Honitsu.
Oh, but he's not discarded the Dora yet, and if Steven gets Tempai here on the correct tile, that could be a problem.
Well, importantly for Austin, that 1-mon or 1 pin isn't necessarily a liability because having a pair of Dora is the same value as an open Honitsu. So he could, if Steven did declare reach, he could hang on to that 1 pin and discard the 3-so instead if he thought it was safer.
Definitely he can now incorporate it. It's not the Honitsu anymore if he decides to pivot, and he does.
So deciding it's late enough that I should
There's
take
the Tempai.
Good choice, yeah. Steven got Tempai. Shampoo waiting for the...
Yeah, so didn't actually get the 147 weight. But the Haku is still not anywhere to be found.
And the 3 isn't necessarily visible either.
There's 1. So he's down to 3 tiles, but the more expensive side is certainly live.
Mm-hmm. And does anybody else close? Looks like Jeremiah on the left has a chance. He's Ishantem.
Yeah, he managed to finish up some of those bad weights and could push if the opportunity presents itself, which it does.
No reach. Perhaps because the 4-mon has been discarded by dealer, and he wants that to come out naturally as a safe tile. But when you Tsumer itself, there's a little twinge of regret.
I can hear Korak yelling in the background. This is why you declare Ricci.
Well, at least it kills the dangerous hand. The other 2 hands that were Tempai, at least. And we move on. Blaine's first dealer turn.
Doesn't look... Well, there's 4 pairs.
The
shapes don't look bad, but they're not exactly great either.
Yeah, I mean...
So it really depends on what you draw here in the next couple of turns as to where you go, because you could easily just turn this into a Tanyo hand if you... Oh, the Dora draws... See, if I drew the Dora here, this is where I would have possibly thought Chitoy, because I don't know how else I'm going to incorporate that Dora.
Yeah, that's a good point.
And I definitely would have kept it, at least at that point. And then I would have pivoted off of it after drawing the... Well, actually, no, the 2 wouldn't have been my draw anyways, because the North was called.
Yeah, it looks like...
assuming that it was my next draw, then I would have pivoted out of it. But at least you would have given yourself the opportunity at the time. As it stands now, with calls across the place, you need to go yourself if you want to keep your dealership.
Yeah, hand across. Looks like a Honitsu hand on the left. Looks like, well, North is the Yakuhai win, and possibly Toy Toy, or it might even turn into Honitsu depending on what's drawn. But Toy Toy is the more likely option.
Yep, yeah. And there goes Blaine right now. He's got a call, and the only thing is that when you had the Haku and the Chun, especially when you're looking across from you at Jeremiah, you wonder if you're going to be helping out of that hand. And luckily for him, he's not. That's not the case.
I want to get rid of that sooner. Yeah, there we go. I say sooner rather than later, and it immediately comes out. So now he can call into Tempai. And that 5 pin doesn't really help Steven's Toy Toy hand, so chance for Blaine here. Tempai on the 5-so and 7-so for just Tanya. 1,500 points, and a dealer repeat isn't bad, though.
There's another call. There's the Tempai now from Jeremiah waiting for 5-8-mon.
So it's a battle between 3 tiles for Blaine and 3 tiles for Jeremiah.
Question is how oh, never mind.
How soon does one draw it, were you going to say? Well, the answer is immediately.
How much it's I basically just the question is like how much does it really matter when you draw the tile and it make me not complete my sentence again?
Well, wow, this is a weird starting hand. You might be thinking about Honitsu right from the get-go just because you have so many honor tiles, but they're all like isolated honor tiles. You have the tune pair, of
Yeah, you
course.
can't even call to make it fast. That's the thing.
Well, keep drawing Manzu and it'll turn into Honitsu.
Question is it going to be faster than Steven?
Oh, and Austin too. Look at that hand. Really nice shapes.
Right.
Two
Doesn't
tiles
have
away.
the confirmed Shakuhai yet. I wonder if that Tumon keep was... What is that Tumon keep for?
Maybe just there's some overlap in the Pinzu. If you draw, for example, the 4, you are making 3, 4, 5, but it's also 4, 5, 6.
The
So
only thing I can think of is maybe a swap to Tanyao and discarding the 2 Easts, because you're not going to get much value if your Easts are your pair.
at least hanging on to the Tumon, you can accept some lower Manzu tiles into your hand.
Well, it's either that or just looking to your left and seeing Blaine with the discards and thinking that, no, maybe I don't want to discard Manzu right now.
Mm-hmm. And the hand we haven't mentioned yet, across from us, well, that's not too bad. I mean, there's some... Nothing has been completed yet, but it's Tanyao-esque, and you might be able to incorporate the Dora 9 into your hand and maybe make an Itsu there.
Yeah, and I wonder if... Yeah, Austin might just end up... I don't know. Will he declare Ricci on this, depending upon where Blaine's at this point? Because Blaine is almost entertaining an Itsu as well here.
Yeah, in the meantime, Blaine's just been drawing Manzu after Manzu. And Honitsu coming together as dealer. Honitsu Yakuhai is pretty expensive, 5,800 points, and well, that's another good draw. One tile away from Tenpai now for Blaine. It's not quite it, but it does improve your weight a little bit more. And if this Wonbon comes out, we'll call for Tenpai. So and chooses the 3/6, I'm assuming. There it is.
Yep.
So we see 3 6-mon in hand and 2 3-mon in hand. Oh, the 6-mon comes out immediately. Did not believe he was in Tenpai that fast. And unfortunately for Jeremiah, Blaine was, and so that puts Jeremiah to a more comfortable second place. 30,000 points now. And drops Jeremiah down to 4th, which is new territory for Jeremiah. Has been totally controlling these games.
We'll see how he plays out of that, yeah. Blaine, to start with this hand, does have the Dora, a little bit questionable elsewhere. Probably going to take some work. Would probably love a Yakuhai somewhere along the line. I think the closer person might be Austin on the right. Has 4 pairs, but could easily doesn't have to commit to Chito or anything of that sort yet. Actually, the person that might end up committing is the one across from us and Jeremiah, who's already Ishanten.
Yeah, 5 pairs is a good start, and you can make Chitoi with the Dora 6-mon. Ooh, what do you do with this Anko draw?
You probably discard 4, so I would imagine.
Because you can still turn this into a Toy or even better.
Well, or Tanya even, just discard the 2 1-pins if you need to, depending upon what you draw.
The shapes are nice enough. When you find Tenpai,
getting a Dora. It's not ideal, obviously, because it's the Dora, but it's the Dora, so yeah.
I mean,
hit the button, go.
Ricci, Chitoi, Dora. If you Sumo, that's already a Hanemon.
That's a Hanemon already, yep.
You get Ura 2, you're just looking at Baimon.
Mm-hmm.
And that could be just what Jeremiah needs to get back into first place.
And there's still 2 live left in the wall. Definitely not coming out of... I would imagine it's not coming out of Blaine's hand.
Yeah, not unless Tenpai is found, and well, that 6 is being used, so it looks like it probably will not. You draw an Anko here. It's almost as if the wall's telling you to push, but you don't want to deal into this reach either.
I mean, okay. I get interesting with a 9. I would have thought maybe you dropped 3 so there, but
Yeah, 3 so is Suji to the 6 so that had come out earlier.
well, the thing is he dropped 4 then the 7 so I'm not quite sure. Oh, that's another pair.
Hmm.
And that's another pair on the right. And that's an Anko on the left.
Okay, everything's coming together now. Still, the hand on the left has a ways to go, and it really looks like Blaine now is fighting for Chitoy, having discarded that north, or perhaps deciding to fold. We'll see. We see the other 2 north winds come out.
Yeah, it depends on what he's going to discard here.
Nope, that's a push. So
That's definitely a push. That's a definite push.
fighting for Chitoy.
Another pair on the left.
And this seems to happen a lot. When one hand gets Chitoy, they all get Chitoy.
Yep.
7 pairs. Infecting the whole table here.
Okay, that 3-1 actually helps in a different way, so could pivot out if possible for Austin. At least get to a Tanya temp. Never mind, there's another pair.
Pairs are wild. It really does. It did need to be like this. When Edwin's commentating, we did need to see one hand that has pairs wild around the table. And he takes the Ricci on the 5 so, which
I think that's right, because the 2-mon would have looked dangerous anyways, but it didn't to Austin because he's sitting with the 2 other 3s, and so there's almost a wall of there was almost a wall of 3s to begin with. Actually, there was a wall of 3s to begin with because Blaine had discarded the 3.
This 2 Anko now for Steven. Suko Ishantem. With the 5 so in the wall, and it's Jeremiah with the Tsuma now. We check Uda. Oh my goodness.
Where do we go?
No!
But it's still 12,000 though, so definitely vaults him into a clear second place. And I would imagine that Stephen might be looking in his rearview mirror.
Yeah, we'll wait for Tenho to catch up with the action. Sometimes Tenho does that little freeze. But yeah, Jeremiah catching up, and this could be another first place potentially.
He's got a Yakuhai, so it can easily call quickly here. Can Austin do anything in last place? I have this. It's this thing, like mentioned it with Alex last in the other table that we watched, and over here, Austin's looking at the situation and going, "Geez, I need to be able to do something." And has a hand to do it for sure on his first dealership here. Has the Dora, has really good shapes. Just drew a pair. Is sitting
Ishanten,
sitting Ishanten.
It's awkward, but it is there. And if you draw more Sozu, connect to that 4 tile shape, the 5, 6, 7.
How about just another Dora?
That's perfect. Then you can drop the 2-mon, and now you're really efficient.
My gosh!
You can call a third Dora for Mangan.
Yeah, you could definitely get the third Dora, and unfortunately for both Blaine and Steven, they might be stuck for a while because that Yakuhai is not going to complete unless one of them decides to abandon it.
Oh, Mochi Mochi, we see the white dragon.
Another pair. Okay, no,
it does not fight for the only.
Doesn't need to go for it.
The 7 pairs is a little too far away.
A little too far away, and the shapes look really good.
Yeah, that's more important. The shapes are so pretty for Tanyao, and you want to be able to call if necessary. So, oh my goodness, they only get better.
That 6 is beautiful.
So now you could get Pinshu on top of this.
Ricci, Tanya, Pinfu, Dora 2, but he's not the first one to get Tenpai.
Oh,
Steven gets to Tenpai, hits the button, waiting for the Haku on the 4 pin.
Of course, Austin fights.
Austin has to fight this.
Yeah, 3, 6, wait, Ricci, Pinfu, Tanyao, Dora 2, Ipatsu.
The reason why the 6 comes out is because look at the discard pile. Do you think he's waiting for Monzu with that?
No, it doesn't look like that. And so this is Haneman. 18,000 from Jeremiah.
So just as Jeremiah got himself back in the game, he's got to climb himself out from a hole again, and Austin's finally probably breathing a sigh of relief, saying, "Thank you, I needed something."
Yeah, there's another battle for first place. That was that was a really difficult position for Jeremiah, fighting two Richis just back to back.
Well, I don't know if you blame him at all for that 6-mon discard, just
Mhm.
what was out there. So I don't know. I couldn't quickly tell what he might have had otherwise, but yeah, at a cursory glance, it looked like he might have been between a rock and a hard place.
For sure, as is usually the case when there are two Richis on the table. Well, Austin's hand not quite as spectacular as the last one, but not terrible either. Where there's already a completed set in the Pinzu and 1-3-5 shape that includes a Dora. Draw the 4. Just the 8-9 shape is awkward there, so we'll see.
Well, the double 8-9 shapes. I mean, unless you can somehow magically turn this into like a Sanshoku, then it's really going to be awkward. You're going to have to start discarding those, so it's definitely slow. In the meantime, that means other players could probably build their hands, and
such as Jeremiah. I mean,
yeah,
starting to build towards a 6-7-8 Ipeko, and only 2 tiles away from Tenpai. Well, now 1 tile away from Tenpai.
I was actually looking over to my left over there with Blaine because he actually, the shapes weren't bad. Just through the 3-pin, nothing pin through related just yet, and no Dora. So points wise isn't expensive,
but
it's closer to Tenpai.
Yeah,
speed wise is definitely better off than some of the others around here.
Yeah, and across the table we also have Ishanten from Steven. So 3 players now, Ishanten. We'll get there first is the big question. That early reach puts pressure on everybody else who's trying to build their hand.
And Austin's hand is improving marginally, drawing around those 8-9s, but not really finishing anything.
It was interesting to see Jeremiah actually discard the Dora 5-mon, 1-3-5 shape. And that hurts a little bit when you draw the 6 later.
I wonder if he's trying to...
I think it was after the 3-so was drawn, so he might have been leaning towards making Honitsu or even Yanpeko. Well, this is interesting for Austin now. Another pair, but feels like a pair-based hand is not quite what you want.
It's not, but all things considered, either you're calling for K10 or the only other option might be that, because the shapes are so awful. And I think maybe he's just trying to give himself the best chance at a K10, possibly.
Yeah, keeping wide shapes and holding on to that tune. Might just even be playing defense here, hanging on to some safe tiles. That's a good pickup, so you're not out of it just yet. And
still looking at just Ricci only with the Dora, but
Jeremiah, 8-mon. So really fighting for the Honitsu or Chinitsu here. And Austin draws back that 5-so. So this actually is looking pretty good. Shantan.
Interesting from Blaine there, because he had 4-4-5-5. The 3s and the 6s look live. And I wonder why maybe you could have discarded the 2-mons and then maybe work to like get a Pinfu out of that, or call maybe make it easier for you to call to get to Tenpai by being able to call the 3-6 along with the 4-5.
Potentially. Yeah, when you have that 4-4-5-5 shape, the 2 pairs right next to each other, it can be awkward, but if you do draw around it perfectly, and well, Ricci, so, Jeremiah finds Ricci Peko.
My guess is
difficult weight.
Steven decided to hit the button too. Still some draws left, so
oh my! Jeremiah draws immediately. Ricci, Patsudora, Ura,
and the Ura makes it. Oh,
well, this is pain for Jeremiah, who had gone off to that amazing start, maybe coming back down to earth a little bit.
Yeah, and really not much he could do. Some of these weights are bad, and I will say that playing against Steven, this is kind of like the MO, and you can get on tilt a little bit here when he wins with these Kanchan weights with these Richis, and you're just kind of looking at your hand and kind of going, where, can't I get something out of this? And you're not careful. It could easily turn in on yourself really quickly here.
I think important for Jeremiah is to remember that your first 3 games were first places. So you're still in a comfortable position. Even in this league, finishing 4th is not the worst thing in the world. You have your second dealership right now, and so you can hopefully make back some of those points and minimize damage, or even potentially catch up if things go well here.
Yeah, is fairly far adrift, but at least has a hand here that could theoretically come together fairly quickly if he draws the right
good.
tiles, like that. Would love to get the 6 pin instead,
Nintendo, so we'll take that.
or at least to improve the 5-7 weight somehow, like drawing the 4 pin, for instance.
Even drawing the 3 pin,
Boom.
or sorry, 3 so.
But Steven's not going to let him get away with that too easily, and will look to push the button and go. Calls the Hatsu, and will try to finish his hand as quickly as possible.
Interesting. Chooses discard the 5-7 over the 2-4.
So... Oh no, it's not quite Sanshoku, but the opportunity is there.
Yeah, there's potential. I'm sure that played into that discard from Jeremiah. And across the table, Blaine, well, he's getting pretty close too. Just needs to find a pair, and then he'll be in Tempai, assuming he gets the right pair, of course. Unfortunately, there's not a lot of value there. And on the left, it's Austin with the Chun pair. Chun has not been seen yet. Sorry, it has been discarded early, but still with that awkward Dora North.
Boom.
Ends up calling. So it looks like we are Atozuke. An early call waiting for the second Chun to come out. If we can find that red dragon, we'll have our value. And Austin, after that big win, isn't too far behind Steven, only about 14,000 points.
I think the other thing with that 1-month call would maybe, hopefully, try to slow people down, because he is Northwind. North is the Dora. If nobody has Dora in their hands, they're just sitting on a single one, maybe they don't push their hand as hard.
Yeah, that's really interesting. And of course, Blaine declares reach. Only a Tanki weight, the 2 so is chosen.
Interesting there. Although maybe because of the fact that you see 3 and 4 so's discarded around, it's more likely to come out.
Richi Matsu no Ura, so just 2,600 points. What you mentioned for...
It's still...
Go ahead.
I was going to say, at least it's a little bit of help there. But anyways, go ahead.
Yeah, I was going to say, what you mentioned for Austin is actually quite interesting. You make that call, and other players look at you and say, well, what are you building over there? How can you call that 1 month so easily? Maybe it's not Honitsu. What could it be? And the obvious answer is, well, Yakuhai. And, well, his wind was the Dora, and that puts a lot of pressure on everyone else. You draw a Dora, you don't want to discard that.
Although it really only puts pressure if people care about that.
That's
if they
true.
don't, then nothing happens, and you're just kind of stuck where you are, and with maybe a little bit less defensive position. But you take that chance sometimes, maybe, if that's what the idea was, and hopefully give yourself some time to complete your hand at the expense of others.
I suspect Austin is quite used to playing against players who would look at that and then start to think defensively or pay close attention to that type of call. At this table, that might not necessarily be the case. And well, at this table, we've got some great draws by Steven, who's our dealer. Already 1 tile away from Tempai as we're 4 discards in. If you can pair something up, then you've got Reach Ping
Thinking
Dora.
about calling that. Doesn't. Interesting, because it's not that he's not that far away, but maybe he thinks he can improve on this hand with that for now, because it's still early.
Interesting, choosing to keep the 5 pin, so probably thinking about going back to Honitsu.
Is that necessary, though, you think?
It is a little bit... Well, I mean, you had too many blocks, so you have to get rid of one of your shapes. And 5-6-6 is a better shape than the 7-8. So I guess that makes sense. Well, you call this. No. Still hanging around.
Jeremiah is really looking to try to swing for the fences here, I think.
Oh yeah, look at this. Aku set in hand, pair of wests, lots of pairs. Well, you can make hopefully a lot of sets concealed in hand. Not even calling that west.
There's a north. So you're one
Each.
away from Chitoi Tenpai. It's not really expensive because of the 2 Formon, which is unfortunate. But man, if you could somehow get to Honitsu Chitoi Tenpai, oh, you'd love that.
Or even just
Or
draw
if
these
you draw the
yourself.
one, if you draw the that's not again, that's not Honitsu Tenpai, but that's still Tenpai. But
Each.
you're waiting on the Chun, which
Which
is
is safe
stuck
from
over in
dealer.
Blaine's hand.
Oh, this could be
Oh.
trouble for Blaine.
Oh no!
Dealer declared reach with 5/8 Mon weight for Richi Pinfu, and had drawn a second Dora, so this is actually a massive hand for dealer.
The question is, will that Chun come out?
When you see one discarded and you have 2 in hand.
Well, here's the problem. Here's the problem also. If you look at Jeremiah, he hadn't discarded a terminal until the Ricci. What do you think he has?
It's true. It could be like a Chanta type hand, or even only has 1 Manzu tile discarded. So, but still, with 2 in hand, it has to be a Tonki weight. And do you really put Jeremiah on a Tonki weight? Would he really do that? Well, the answer is yes, but does Blaine know that? As it is, still has a lot of safe tiles. You can drop 2 pin, 2 pin, 2 so safe, and it's.
Oh, there we go. It's not a Kanchan weight this time.
But well, Steven increases the lead with a dealer Mangan Sumo. This puts Jeremiah in the negatives. And well, it puts Steven pretty much out of reach from Austin as well, unless he can pull back an amazing run.
And Steven with another hand, not the rest of the hand doesn't look that great, but has the Yakuhai, so if he draws right, he'll go.
And he goes.
Although he just decides to go anyways without even any of the other draws, so
yeah, very awkward shapes. Penshan in the Manzu, Kanchan in the Pinsu. But one of those will probably be paired up, so that's not terrible. And you can call your way.
And the only hand that could compete in speed right now might be Jeremiah.
Yeah, Steven doesn't have
looking around the rest of the table
to worry too much about losing his lead. He's got such a big one, but you also don't want to put yourself in a position where you do deal it into a Mangan from Austin, perhaps, or Haneman even.
Now, Blaine had a chance to build an expensive hand here because he does have Yakuhai or double Yakuhai. I guess you can't really go for the Honitsu, maybe because of the fact that you're holding the Dora, but I think you could have at least kept the Hatsu and maybe ditched the 7-9 so and hedged in the meantime.
Well, he might do the same thing that Austin did, where he leans towards Honitsu. Honitsu's 2-han, and the double Yakuhai is another 2-han. So that'd be Mangan. And if he draws another Dora, then he just goes for double South and a pair of Dora, which is still Mangan.
Well, right, but that's what I'm saying. Instead of discarding the Hatsu, you discard 7-9 instead.
Because or at least 4-7. Oh, sorry, 4 is the Dora. So 7-9.
Yeah,
you're right.
7-9, because then at least you're still holding the Dora. You weren't necessarily going to work around the 7-9 anyways, because you have better shapes elsewhere, because especially if you start calling. So
yeah, I like that plan.
Are we frozen?
I don't know if we're frozen or if Jeremiah's frozen. It has been a while, so you know what? I'm gonna throw in a quick refresh and see if that helps.
Because I would imagine with that 6-mon discard, a 9-pin discard would have been fairly easy. So I think we might have been frozen there.
Yeah, sometimes Tenho does that, but we're back into things. And not too much is gone. Let me switch to dealer
back
again.
over to, yeah.
There we go.
So yeah, the 9-pin did get discarded there.
And Steven has called again. Shantan now.
Blaine got rid of the Dora after drawing another 9-so, maybe?
Yeah, 1 tile away from Tempai, so perhaps trying to keep his shapes efficient, prioritizing that over lean onto that value.
Yeah, double Yakuhai is fine because you still have your dealership, so you don't need a big hand here.
Well, Jeremiah's just built Ipeko in the Manzu. We got that 3, 4, 5 sequence repeated twice.
Each.
Oh. Blaine gets there. Declares reach on the south.
All 4 tiles are live.
Wow. That's really unusual for those honor
Yeet.
tiles not be there. But Jeremiah's got a hand to fight with.
He's discarding the door to do it, but goes for it. But it is safe, so.
Richie Tanyao Pinfu Ipeko.
Meanwhile, Stephen is Tenpai waiting for just the Tuso, but you know how it is with those Kanchan weights. Even though Austin is holding 2 of them across, I wouldn't be surprised if Stephen somehow finds it.
There's a lot of 5/8s still left. All 4 or 5 so, and then one of the 8s. A lot of live tiles yet to be drawn. Feels like it's going to come out any moment. Interesting choice for Austin, who's the only player not Tenpai right now. Fighting against 3 other players. Oh, there it is.
As I said, I wasn't surprised if Steven was going to get his Kanchan weight, and there it is.
Yeah, the value there was basically the Ricci sticks. The 2 Ricci sticks was even more than the value of the hand itself, plus the Honba.
So, incrementally speeding away. And no quick calls here, but not looking that terrible, and looking at around the rest of the table could have some competition for speed, especially with Austin across. I don't know what Jeremiah will do given his situation, if he'll call and just try to get this over with, or to try to actually still build value, because he was trying to build value last hand. So he may still just try to continue doing that for the rest of the game, especially since he does have his last dealership. Actually, that could work both ways, but we'll see how he plays it. He's getting good draws, though, in the meantime. Austin could easily just get this game over with. I don't know if he considers thinking about having a chance at first, but he could at least push this game along. He has Yakuhai. Just drew another pair, so he could just start calling here. And then Blaine, 1, 2, 3, 4 pairs.
2 of which are
shapes are slightly awkward. Does have pair of Dora. Shapes are slightly awkward. I think if he finishes the 1-2 by drawing like a no, now you're going for Cheetoid, so there's no way you commit to that. Oh, I don't know about the 1-mon discard.
Oh, yeah, I really like the 1-mon
bad weight.
Because you see too
the 6/7. You discard this 6/7 mon if you're going to go for Cheetoid.
You're speaking as an expert in 7 pairs, as someone who goes for it probably more than most other players. Yeah, you see.
I only go for it because it finds me way too often. And now the South actually becomes a viable weight. No!
Well,
with one South discarded, you could definitely wait on a South. There's no Souths discarded in a South round. I wouldn't wait on a South. But with one discarded, oh heck yeah, I'd take that.
Yeah, we ideally would get that sneaky Suji trap weight on the 9-mon. That would be pretty nice.
Yeah. I'd hold on to that too, so I discard 6/7 mon. If you're going to go for Cheetoid, so you cannot hold those middle tiles.
Well, the thing with those middle tiles is they're easier for other players to use, and it's more likely that one of those players is hanging on to it. And as we can see on the left, Jeremiah's got 3 of the 7s and 1 of the 6s. And Steven's also got 1 of the 6s blocked away in hand. So there's actually like
and there's the 1-mon! There's the 1-mon!
Yeah, the 1-mon was looking really good. When you see
this is a bit painful. I'm sorry.
Cheetoy is such a painful hand. Doesn't matter. Steven finds his weight. He had found Tenpai a while ago, was waiting for that penchant to fill. Ends the suffering.
Yeah, when Tsuchida-san says basically you throw the book out when going for Cheetoy, it's true. You cannot. Well, first of all, generally, if you commit to it, you commit to it. Especially when you have bad shapes, sort of like what Blaine had there, because he had like the 2-so, the 6-so, the 9-so. It's going to be hard to really build anything around that. You're not going to take anything around the 6-so because you want the pair. So there really isn't much else left to go for that. And when you do that, your better option is to have a bad weight. Even at a Jigoku Tanki where it's like a single weight, yeah, you'd even do that too. But anyways, South 3, need to stop talking about that. Go on to Blaine's hand.
Wow, I mean, this is good.
Who's actually come together pretty well here.
Even better. That's the South, and so has a lot of room for improvement here. And on the right, Austin's already got that combo of Hatsu, Blaine calls the tune. So just going to speed this along. Get another repeat.
Already
Austin says, I want to do the same.
Austin's like, I got to end this now. Like, I
Eat.
just, just go away.
And it's Jeremiah who finds Tenpai first. Clears reach. Waiting for just the 3 mon, which is Dora. There's 3 left in the wall.
Question is, how good is his luck compared to somebody like Steven so far, where he's been able to hit his Conchan weights? Will Jeremiah be able to do so?
Unfortunately, hasn't been terribly lucky this game, but maybe this is where it all turns around.
I don't know, because Steven's getting closer to Tenpai now, and I wouldn't be surprised if he declares Ricci, waiting on something like, well, let's see, 5, 6, 7 pair of 4s, 1, 2, 3. Oh yeah, I can imagine him drawing the 5, 8 so reaching, waiting for the 3 so for sure.
Austin chose to throw the 3 Hatsu away, so giving up on his hand.
He doesn't need to worry about it at this point. There's no reason for him to push and pay in. He'll let everybody else fight it out at this point.
But Blaine
Everybody's
has a
so
reason.
far away.
Oh, Blaine's got a reason. He's got Tenpai now and chooses not to discard the 7. A little bit of safety there. He can see 3 of the 7 mon, so he discards the 8. However, discarding the 7 would have given you a slightly better weight, so it's just a matter of safety over attacking or winning chances. I'm sure you'd be quite pleased to draw a 5 mon. You can.
Every tile that Jeremiah is drawing that isn't getting his Ricci is probably getting a little bit more frustrating and over. And meanwhile, Steven makes the decision to necessarily work on a Penchon weight, having drawn another 5 pin.
Blaine does draw the 5 mon. You can drop the 8 here with a 3-sided 4, 7 mon. 5 so 8 chooses not to because not quite sure why, but the 5 was guaranteed safe. And what we still see, the 3 mon is in the wall. We haven't seen it yet. Outside the one that was already in hand, of course, but there's still 3 remaining. I was like, where are they? Surely Blaine doesn't have them. From Jeremiah's perspective, Blaine might be Tenpai, and he is.
Yeah, and Steven pushes the 3 so here. Definitely not safe, but goes with it anyways.
Wrong.
Well, the 5 so is drawn.
Jeremiah probably has to just give out an exasperated sigh at this point, because yeah, it was a 3, just a 3 mon weight, but it's just like, I just can't win at this point.
And that was a first row discard, and he made all the way to the middle of the 3rd row without seeing one. And they're still in the wall somewhere.
And still in the wall. Yeah, they'll be forever in the wall, apparently.
Well,
so Blaine gets some points, gets himself closer to Austin, who's probably not necessarily liking that. And if he saw Blaine's hand, may not be that enthralled either, because Blaine, if he gets that Haku, is going to go.
And here we see it.
Home.
Called. It's go time. You still need a pair here, but pairs are usually not that hard to find. And well, Austin's got a pretty good hand, and there's an Itsu chance here.
Home.
Do you call this
Steven
8 if it comes out?
calling an off-wind, going for the Honitsu, committing to that for sure at this point.
Yeah, Austin says, everyone's calling. I need to speed this along. So calls for the Itsu chance. Needs the 6 pin, and the 6 pin only here for Yaku. But can call in the Sosu shape as well to find Tenpai. Decisions for Blaine here. Chooses the 9 mon.
Interesting, because you could have discarded. Well, I think you could have discarded the East and kept at least the 5, 7, 9, because at least then you could have had the Ryokan weight and maybe drawn a pair like what happened there. With the East, the only thing you could have done is drawn the pair.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there was a world where Blaine could have even considered Chanta, but that involves discarding 3 5 so, and it's usually pretty efficient to keep a middle tile like the 5 so. Blaine doesn't necessarily need an extra value here, just needs to complete the hand, and chooses to discard the East here.
My guess is that since it hadn't come out, it may have been stuck in somebody's hand. Or you could have also thought it might have been in Steven's hand and doesn't want to give him the opportunity to call it later.
Yeah, Steven might
with
be
the
holding
Honitsu.
Exactly.
So
Well, there's a pair for
Oh,
Steven
now he actually gets a Yakuhai, so now this hand is actually very much more expensive.
Tenpai for Blaine now. Which pair weight do you want? This is the 5, so. Well, it worked for him last round. We'll see.
He's gonna switch out of that probably. He'll find something better. I would imagine.
Oh,
I don't
likely
think
so.
the 5-so is going to be his last weight.
For example, if you were to drop Pinzu Tai, you don't really want to drop that against a Honitsu player. Well,
Or
how
how about you
this?
just get a 2-5-8 weight, right?
Yeah, 3-sided. This would be great.
There you go.
It is a little awkward that we see 3 of the 8s and 2 of the 5s. But you know that Steven on the left is going to discard it if it comes out. And well, in the meantime, Austin also calls for Tenpai. He needs the 6-pin, though, and only the 6-pin.
Jeremiah, meanwhile, is probably just, I don't know what he's thinking at this point, because his hand is not really getting there, and it's
the problem
there's
is
danger with all those red tiles in his hand. There's danger all around if his hand improves. Possibly.
Even if he gets Tenpai, he's got to discard one of those Pinzu tiles. You don't want to do that. But it's Austin who finds 2 mana, has to discard that into another 1,500 point hand for Blaine, plus 300 from the Homba. So he gets a little bit closer.
Inching closer. Austin's probably thinking, slightly getting nervous. Does have the Yakuhai pair though, so again, could try to push the initiative if he gets the tune. Only person that has that right now is Steven, who just discards it, and there goes Austin.
Austin's like, you've had enough. I'm giving you enough time. I'm going to call this and end this. Wow, another
I'm
pair.
Looking over at Steven, and that hand does have did have some hints of Shanta, but that 4-so will probably make it so he pushes away from that and we'll look for something more conventional.
Mm-hmm.
Blaine has... Say again?
I was going to say Kanchan Phil for Jeremiah, but yeah, Blaine with
4 pairs.
4 pairs.
With the East Dora. This is borderline.
Yeah, it's so difficult with all those pairs deciding which way your hand's going to go.
Well,
especially when you've got that Dora.
That's why I mean it's borderline Chitoitsu because of the fact that you have the Dora.
It really depends on like your next couple draws.
Yeah, it depends on whether or not you drawing Pinzu, which is not helping him at all.
Yeah. Well, Austin just keeps progressing. Ishanten now hanging on to that west because it's probably pretty safe. And now it goes 3-6. So wait. There's 4 of those left in the wall.
Oh, Steven's getting closer.
So this is just a 1 hand for Austin, but he doesn't need a massive hand because the chances of catching up to Steven are pretty low. Plus he has another dealership. He just wants to end Blaine's chance of catching up.
Yep.
And speaking of Blaine, hasn't really made progress because he keeps drawing those Pinzu tiles. And there it is for Austin.
So finally ends Blaine's dealership. Get some of those points back so the damage wasn't too big. Has a dealership now. Will probably test the waters to see if he can catch up to Steven at all. But could also easily just pass dealership if necessary.
Mm-hmm.
Hand, though, looks a lot better now with that 6-mon draw. No Yakuhai, but could easily... Well... could still easily work his way around to some type of Tenpai. May not be expensive, but again, much like what Blaine was doing, you just got to win your hand and keep going. I'm looking over at Jeremiah, and I'm just trying to figure out what he's going to try to do at this point. He's so far adrift. Does he just try to wait for his dealership, or is he going to try to push for something big now? Steven... Yes, not great. He's going to need a lot of help too. So if Austin's going to make some headway, he might be able to do it here. The only person that might, actually, I think the only person that might stop him is Blaine.
Yeah, this is a Dora.
He needs a little bit of help.
See Austin thinking a lot about whether you can use that in your hand, whether you want to drop that early to prevent maybe Blaine from getting that.
Although speaking of Dora now, that's a Dora over there for Jeremiah.
Who can use it? He needs it. He wants value.
Yeah, but you can't open though.
Well, you do have the Hatsu pair, and you could maybe turn this into Honitsu.
But
You've-
Honitsu, well,
You've discarded
okay,
the 2-pin already, so it is a little awkward, but if you're thinking about opening, then maybe leave that. Oh, 2-mon discard. I think he's decided. And that's really interesting from Steven. You notice how he just discarded that 7-so from a 7-8-9 shape? I wonder if he's thinking, I'm just going to hang on to safe tiles for the rest of this round.
Yeah, it could just be that he decides after the first row here that this is pretty much nonsense, and I'm just gonna play safe here.
I mean, with 67,000 points, your biggest worry is probably dealing into the dealer. Other than that, you're pretty secure. So how's Blaine doing? That's the battle between second and third. Not bad, but still some work to be done. He really wants Tanyao Pinfu Ipeko. So he needs to complete 2 more sequences and find a pair. And well, 6, 7, 7, 8 is a decent shape, but you've already dropped the 9 pin, so besides against that.
He hasn't dropped the South or the Hatsu yet, which is interesting.
It's giving Jeremiah a chance to grab another South before that happens. And of course, he's ready to call the Hatsu. Well, look at this from Jeremiah. Discarded the 6-pin. Is he thinking Kokshi?
No, my guess is he's thinking of oh gosh.
7 pairs Honroto?
Honroto Chitoi, maybe?
Yeah. I mean,
Honroto Honitsu Chitoi?
I definitely think he's got in the back of his head. Oh, there's another pair.
Oh, that one. So he's praying to God he's not going to draw another one. So he does not want to pair that up. He'd rather pair one of the other tiles up.
He didn't even pause on that Hatsu. He is committed. Oh, there's the one. We'll see now. Is it pairs or is it Kokshi? It's Kokshi. All right.
Okay.
What do we need? We need the 9-mon, the 9-so, and the Chun.
This is late for that, though.
It is. But, I mean, Jeremiah is D4.
I mean, I know he needs 32,000 points, but even, I mean, I can't, you're going to have to help me with this, because let's just think about like a Honitsu Honroto, right? Or
Honroto.
Wait, is
it 2 and 2?
Honroto Chitoi, yeah.
That would be manga. And unfortunately...
Door 2 plus any error.
So that'd be Hanemon. That would be good. And unfortunately for Jeremiah, we can see there are 3 9-so in Steven's hand and 1 9-so discarded. So even if you were to find Tempai, unless Steven bails with the 9-so, it's impossible to win.
I mean, I guess I understand why, because you are looking for the points, but yeah, you could have.
I mean, Austin needs
to find Tempai. With that door draw, you could have even called for like a toy maybe if you ended up getting the tiles. But...
This is Tempai for Blaine or Tanya Pinfu. Oh no, Austin didn't get there.
Oh my gosh!
And that's how this ends. Well, I mean, this isn't the worst for Austin, who confirms second place. Passing the Joe ship is fine. Wow, that could have been amazing from Jeremiah if you could come back in that last hand. As it is,
I thought Jeremiah had one more. Oh no, sorry, his last hand. Okay, so yeah. So
Steven claiming the first place with 66,000 points and good for a plus 51.0. Austin second plus 8.8. It's Blaine who finishes negative 8.8, and unfortunately for Jeremiah, negative 51 cuts back into that massive lead that he had in the first 3 games. But overall, positive finish for Jeremiah. I think he's got 40 points now. Is that right?
That might be it, because there was a single game that was supposed to have started at the top of the previous hour. I'm trying to read that last table there.
Yeah, it started 10 past the hour. Should we maybe hop in and see if they did?
Wait, which one's... Wait, is that the one? So the 11:08 one was the one that was the single game.
The last game that started 40 minutes ago.
Okay. I don't know. We can check to see where they're at, but they could both be on their nearing completion.
Yeah, we'll take a peek, and if they're finished, then or perhaps they're in South 4, we'll close out with that one. Well, you only East 4.
No, they're in East 4.
Okay, well,
Oh wait, you're in 3.
Let's
you're
switch
in
back
3, yeah.
to 4, and we'll see either some deal repeats or wonder how they managed that. As is, we see 2 home ball already, so we know there's been at least 2 repeats. And
Okay, so let's see who we have here. I believe Miaos is Cesar.
well, that sounds right.
Jowser is, I believe, Joe.
I believe that's correct as well. I seem to remember.
Is that Pint that's on the right?
Yeah, I think that's Christopher, right? Or Chris?
Yeah. And then Josh is who? That's what I'm wondering. Josh is who? Oh, Joshy who? Joshy who? What?
Joshy who? I wonder, do we have a Josh in this league? Well, it looks like...
I'm just trying to remember off the top of my head.
Like Joshua. Joshua B, because we have a couple of them.
Oh, okay, he's the new person. He's one of the new members this time around, because we are in back in A pool again.
Okay, I wonder if I've got the right initial for. We do have 2 Joshuas in the league.
Yeah. Oh, it looks like you didn't. Yeah, I believe that's right.
Well, this is
So it is Joshua B. So the name apparently didn't get updated there, but yeah, that is Joshy who.
Okay, so not Tenho, it is Joshy who.
Yeah, that's that. I don't know if the name got set recently, and that's the reason why. Because I think that was just the default until you set your name in the system.
Okay. Well,
so it just hadn't gotten updated, I don't think.
Yeah, that sounds about right. And well, we're in the South round now. We've got Josh's dealer, and second place. It looks like it's Joe who's come out to the early lead, and well, this is a good start for Joe as well, except for the fact that Chris gets Tempai. And this is a reach on a Tonki. Wait, just the one so. Would you expect the one so?
Yeah, you'd probably expect that. I mean, if anybody draws it, they're not. I would imagine they're not. They're probably looking over there and thinking Monzu, and that being the Dora suit, they're not going to touch that with a 6-foot pole, 10-foot pole.
This is Richi Itsu, because we see all the numbers from 1 through 9 in the Monzu. So this is looking to be a very big hand for Chris. And, well, we don't see any of the ones, so they're all in the wall.
But 6 and 9 drop, it might make people a little bit more comfortable to go. And speaking of going, Joe declares Khan, gets the 4 Dora, and now Chris is probably sweating bullets, wondering how close to Tempai is Joe.
Well, unfortunately, he is Tempai, waiting on the 7 pin. I guess fortunately for Chris, there's only 1 7 left. And what did Mios get Tempai? That is Caesar, waiting on the 3-mon for Tanyao.
He's not. I guess he could give up the 3 if he wanted to, but at the same time, the 3 is Suji to the 6, which was discarded earlier. And if you're looking for any Monzu to discard and you're desperate to,
you can upgrade
that 3 is that 3. Oh well, the 3s are gone.
Oh no.
There's the one so.
And it looks safe.
Comes out.
That's huge for Chris, who had been in 4th place.
What, does he get
Ichidora?
extra help?
Uda?
He gets extra help.
Just one, though. So it's 8,000.
Thanks to the con, it's 8,000.
We move it to our new dealer.
Actually, no, wait. That was already 4, wasn't it?
Yeah, that was there before. So
It was already there
he
before.
needed 2 Uda to make that
He needed
Hanuman.
2. Yeah.
It always feels like you get that Udadora when you don't need it. But I'm sure Chris is very happy with that. Long gun pickup.
Stone's a throw away from 3rd. Not that far away from 2nd to think that you can't get there. Although your starting hand here is a little questionable. You do have the door. You just drew another pair of 8-mon. You could maybe entertain Tanyao if you draw the right tiles, or you just hope you get a Yakuhai somewhere along the line. I don't know whose else's hand can compete right now. Maybe Joshua?
I mean, there are some good shapes there. He's
Ishan 10 right now, isn't he? It wouldn't be a great weight in the end, but
yeah, I think he needs another.
He's still Ishan 10.
You draw the 4-mon.
Yeah, then you're Tenpai.
That's so awkward. And we'll see if he can upgrade that a little bit. As it is.
So I'm just kind of looking else around the table, and
not good shapes all around.
Yeah, I mean, Joe has tiles that look like they could go into an Itsu somewhere, but still needs 3 Pinzu tiles to do it, and it can't really commit to anything else as of yet.
You see him hanging on to that 1-mon because you'd like to use the Dora 2-mon if you were to draw it.
It'd still be awkward, though.
For sure. Even if you get that, then you're waiting for the 3-mon. And
Chris, meanwhile, has improved with the Kanchan 3-pin weight. Still a little bit adrift. Could even entertain a Sanshoku if he draws right.
Well, look at this for Josh. Now with 5 pairs, you could even switch around to a Chitoi or even Chitoi Tanyao to keep this west.
Chitoi Tanyao waiting.
That was good he didn't.
Yeah.
There's some flexibility
the shapes aren't
here.
too bad over there, I can see why you hold on to the 6-mon.
You can make Ipeko, for example.
Yeah, you look out on the table though, and I don't know if you think you're going to find Manzu, because there just hasn't been a lot discarded. I don't know if I don't know if anybody's ever going to get what they think they're going to get. That's another pair for Christopher, but
doesn't want it.
Doesn't take it.
It doesn't need it, right? You can make Tanyao instead. You can call this for temp, but chooses not to.
Could have called that 3.
Eat.
Now you are waiting on that 3 that you passed.
Now you're waiting on the 3. Interesting, not taking the Tanya to go along with that.
Yeah, you could have discarded the 1 instead, but it's Joe fighting with an 8-mon Kanchan. Only 1 8-mon left in the wall, and only 1 3-mon left in the wall. Oh, it's Joe who draws it, and this deals on the dealer. Just reach the door that.
Yeah, and I don't know that. Again, I don't know if there's some thinking to that as to maybe keeping the 1-mon instead and not taking the Tanya. But either way, it works out. Gets some points. At least gets a little bit closer to 2nd. But this particular hand is going to need a little bit more work.
Yeah, that 1 Han difference would have made it double value. It would have been went from 39 to 78 or 77. But
yeah, and looking at this hand, it's going to be a little awkward, I think.
Yeah, for sure, a little bit tough for Chris. But on the right, Joe picking up tile after tile, Tenpai already with 3 Dora in hand. Richi Dora 3, waiting on the 5 8 so. Unfortunately for Joe, there's an Anko of 8 so in Josh's hand, and a pair of 5 so in Caesar's hand. Still 3 left. Well, 2 left in the wall now that Josh has pulled another 5 so. This weight's getting harder and harder. But it's so hard for everyone else to fight this. So far away, and the only person who really has incentive at least with the current hands, is maybe Chris. There's just so many unsafe tiles that you have to discard in order to get to Tempai.
Yeah, like that Tuso there wasn't safe necessarily.
If you can find a way though, if you draw the 3 pin and you draw the 6 pin, you can discard the 2 and the 8 mon. There's a 6 pin, so we're kind of getting there. Starts with a 2 mon.
Well, I'd be really concerned on Joshua's side because that 5 so is looking a little bit more loose.
And even if he was trying to play safely, we can see 3 of these 7 so discarded, so the 8 is 1 chance. There's only one way that could be included in Yamen Wait. Oh, the 5 does come out.
Yeah. I wonder, it's probably because he didn't see the Easts. Is probably the reason why he was like, do I really want to discard that here?
Joe gets some of those points back and increases that dealer lead. Now, he's the only one above 30,000, so he's the only person who's looking at a positive score at this point. And the battle for second and third and fourth is so tight.
Yeah, Joe can sit back here now because everybody's now fighting with each other. They're too close that none of them are concerned with even remotely trying to think of catching up to him right now. They're just concerned with at least trying to get second, and then after that, trying to get over 30,000.
How do these hands look so far? Well, see some
Cesar has double Yakuhai, has a Dora. That's 3 Han. Not much else. You don't need much, though, again, if you're just trying to get to second. Chris has a double or a Ryankon weight with a 579. Although realistically, he wants the 5-7 to complete, not the 7-9. Joe's hand actually isn't looking too bad, but
I was wondering if he would call that and start leaning towards Tempai, but he doesn't really need to open himself up.
He doesn't need to extend himself. I don't think he's going to call unless he was closer to finishing his hand.
That would fix
than he is right now.
Yeah, that 7 mon would fix an awkward shape, but again,
there's still too many pairs and not uncompleted melds that it's just not worth it to call at this point.
This is a nice draw. Chooses to keep the 6-8-8 shape in the Pinzu over the 6-6-8 shape in Manzu.
Each.
Tempai found for Joshua.
Waiting for 1-4 so.
1 would be Ipeko, so Richi Pinfu. Potential Ipeko. And, well, not many of these tiles are out. 4 left on the wall.
Joe's certainly getting out of here. I don't think he's going to fight this.
That tune is scary. We don't see any red dragons out yet. Does come out, though.
Joe discards it. Is that... That is. Oh, what are you discarding?
Oh.
I was like, yeah, that's Chicho Tenpai, but what are you discarding?
Well, only 3,900, but with these score lines, that is huge.
That's big, because especially now, because you're looking. It is your your dealership here in South 4, but a bigger hill to climb. Not a bad high pie to start though. Does have the 2 Yakuhai chances there, but could have easily kept that. What?
Uh-oh. Those 2 immediate discards make me a little bit worried about whether or not Caesar is in. Oh no!
Oh no!
That's really unfortunate. We might have a disconnected player, and
that's especially on your last dealership in South 4.
Well, that happens sometimes when you play online mahjong. And look at Christopher Tempai already. Oh no, it's not Tempai already. I wanted it to be Tempai because he's got those 2 Dora in hand, but Ishantem.
He needs 5,600. So a 3-Han hand's not going to do.
Ooh, pain.
Unless it's no, because that's not. Yeah, it would need to be a manga and sumo, or maybe yeah, it'd have to be a manga and sumo, or 3 and.
Chris can win Mongun from anybody and pull ahead of Joshua, but if we're trying to make it over 30, and you really want that Mongun, well, you need Hanemon to do that.
Oh, that's so unfortunate for Cesar because his hand was so good to start and even drew the 5-mon to boot.
Well, who else is building their hand? Josh is not too bad. He's got that pair of red dragons. Ooh, Christopher kind of turning this into a Chitoy now. Chitoy Tanya would be spicy. You can make a manga out of that.
Too.
Oh, yeah, Dora too.
Home.
Oh, calling now.
Yeah, well, Tanya, Toy, Dora
Each.
2, possibly 3.
But it's Joe who is Tenpai as the leader, waiting on 9.
For 9-mon Tonki, unbeknownst to him, the person that's disconnected is holding 2 of them.
Oh my goodness, there's only one
He's
available.
down to 1.
I mean, when you get that chance to reach with South, so this is Ricci South Dora, that's actually some significant value. Will we see that last 9-mon come out? Will we see Chris get Tenpai?
I think Chris is hedging a bit here.
He doesn't really want to
because
discard.
he knows he's probably safe from finishing in last, unfortunately, because of the disconnect. So he can kind of play a little bit safer. He'd still love to get second. He has the opportunity for that, but won't. Wait.
If you could hit Josh directly with 3,900, but still Ishantem.
And we're nearing the end of the wall here.
Oh, we see the 4 come out. East has been cut once. Oh yeah, this is looking tough. How many draws left? Josh is bailing. It looks like Chris will not get Tenpai, and so it's just Joe extending the lead by an extra 2,000 points. And so our final match of the day finishes with Joe in first, plus 49.5. Joshua a second place, but unfortunately below 30,000, so this is negative 3.8 points. For Chris, negative 14.4 in third. And unfortunately for Cesar, who did not get the chance to battle in that last hand, a negative 31.3.
And so after we've looked at quite a few of
these B2 games.
Pool A here. So the standings have shaken out quite a bit here, where Ada, who was actually at my table, maintains her lead, although it's slight now over both Joe and Cesar, who had fairly successful sessions here.
But Christopher in third there. And Jeremiah, who had plus 90 at one point, got an unfortunate fourth to drop down a little bit, but plus 47 is not a bad start for the first Hanchan, our first set of Hanchans.
So yeah, I think only one table's left to play 2 games, so we're almost done with round 1 here for Pool A, and you're already. I mean, there is some stratification, not too much at the top. Jeremiah is kind of acting like the bridge in between the top 3 and the rest of the positive scores, so it doesn't look that bad up there.
Yeah, still early days for our season. This is just the first session of 4 games. We still have 4 more to go, and then a bonus session to get those final placements in. And so I'm really looking forward to seeing how B2 Pool A shakes out, in addition to all of the other pools in B2, as well as the rest of the league. And well, I believe our next broadcast is on Tuesday. Is that correct?
I believe so. I think we have tomorrow off. Depends. It always depends upon when people are available and when games are scheduled, and trying to match them all together. So,
Well, looking at the events, we've
but-
got one scheduled for Tuesday at 5 p.m. Pacific time, and it looks like it's going to be Korak, Arthur, and Blaine, who we actually watched a little bit of his games today, commentating on some A2 matches. So that's going to be exciting. We haven't seen too many of those yet.
So yeah, I mean, we definitely a lot more action still for round one. We're only halfway through the round as we speak right now. So definitely more games to be had, and more games to watch, and more people to see.
Yeah, hope to see you there on Tuesday. And so for Edwin, this is Nathaniel. Thanking you for stepping by, and have a good night.
Have a good night.